And we're live. At least I think we are. I don't know, weird stuff going on today. Anyway, we appear to be on. There seems to be a really big delay, though, between here and there. I don't know why. I'm going to see if I get on there real quick. Yep, okay. So, let's start with the hellos and I'll explain all the bullshit that's going on. So it looks like John Nippenberg of Landmark Yards, he got the cookie. All right, John, enjoy that cookie. Glad you're here. And let's see. All right, where the hell am I? Yeah, there we go. Tom Grassi looks like he was second. Tom, you got the half cookie. Good to see you. Glad you're here. And Gerald Stewart, good to see you. Dundas Junction Mile Railroad. James, good to see you, James. Wake up, let's go. That's funny. Chuck Shriver, good to see you. Derek Alexander, good to see you too, Derek. Joe Rader, Black Rock Central Railroad, good to see you. Let's see who else is here. It looks like that might be everybody. Corley Express, Dwight, how's it going? Good to see you. Now, if you're wondering why these things are popping up on the screen, I don't fucking know. My overlay isn't working the way it's supposed to. Now it automatically puts it up on the screen and then disappears after a few seconds. So apparently everybody who comments now will get their mug or their comment on the screen. I don't know what the hell changed, why. I didn't do anything. Something else did. So, I'm not even going to try and figure it out right now. The hell with it. Let it go. I'll look into it for next week. Anyway, good to see everybody. Hope y'all had a good week. Busy playing with your trains and doing whatever else you had to do. And here we are on Shortline Thursday to talk about everything. Including some train stuff. So no cussing. Well, now there's always going to be cussing. I don't care if you cuss or not. Don't bother me any. I do it. As far as I know, you won't get booted for it. I got a lot to talk about. I went ahead and I got the shed. Don't show. Yeah, exactly. Because it won't show up. And I can't even, well, I probably could turn it off, but I figured I'll leave it on. The hell with it. I don't know. So anyway, I got the shed. Yeah, it does look a little darker than normal, isn't it? I wonder why. I got all the lights on. I mean, I don't have the spots on. See if I can get them to go on. Is that one or is it this one? No, there it is. Ah. That better? It's a little blinding, but that does brighten up the place, doesn't it? Let's see. Your lighting there. Yeah. Tom says, hey Jim, I 3D printed the Wago connector holders using TPU filament, and that seems to have worked. Cool. It's good to hear. Jesse, hey Jesse of Oklahoma, how you doing? Good to see you. I didn't miss you today, Jim. No, you didn't. I'm telling you what, it's been a weird day. I got a good rant for you here in a little while. We haven't really done a rant in a while. You're going to get a tan now. No, these aren't, they call them, they're not UV lights, so I shouldn't get a tan. I might go blind, but I won't get a tan. I mean, they're not really that bright, but I could tone them down a little bit, but why? So, before we get into the rant, I want to talk about a few things that are sort of train related. And amazing, everybody can hear me all right, I hope. They got good sound. Yeah, that'd be a good thing. Your entire show is a rant. Well, it could be. But it's not. But we're going to have a genuine rant here in a little bit. Just because. But before I get into that, I want to talk about the spare room that's going to be behind me. So I got the shed the other day. I took some, well, it's still in the boxes, but here's the boxes. There's two boxes, one behind that one. It's not crazy big. It's 6 foot by 8 foot, which is enough. It's a lean-to shed. So it's going to work out perfectly for what I need. Now, fortunately, I'm a short guy because the tallest part of it, I think, is 6'4". And I'm 5'6", so... Because the short part of it, I think, is like 5'2" or something like that. But I'm not going to be on the short end anyway. But it'll work out good. Here's a closer look at the actual shed part. That's, of course, it's sideways and weird. But if you can twist it around in your mind, you'll see what it looks like. So that's what's going to happen here as soon as I get the floor built. Now, I didn't buy the wood for the floor yet, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but I did get these. And that's these here joist hangers. They're pretty cool. Hey, Sparky, what's going on? Good to see you here. So, I bought 10 of these things, which I think I only need 8, but I bought a couple extra. They're $1 a piece. They're cheap. And they're going to go onto the shed side over here to stand up the 2x4s in, you know, for the floor joist. So I got to put these things on yet. And I got to get some pressure treated 2x4s. I think I need 8 of, well, yeah, is it 8? No. 8, 9, I think I need 10 of them. Because I'm going to build a frame and then the in between. And then 1/2-inch plywood on top of that. I was going to go with 3/4 inch. The price difference is ridiculous. A 1/2 inch will be fine because there's not going to be a lot of weight on it. Just my fat ass and a couple of benches. So we should be okay with that. Now I should be starting on that hopefully within a week. I don't figure it'll take much more than a week to get the floor built. And probably another week to get the shed built. I don't know. It's probably going to be a pain in the ass, but, you know, what isn't? So, we got that going. And, of course, just to add a little more intrigue to the whole thing, my wife bought another damn chicken coop. Which, of course, I have to assemble. I may try and do that next week, too. I hate building shit. I really do. I'm getting so tired of assembly. But you can't buy anything that's already assembled anymore unless you want to, you know, spend a fortune. I can get a pre-built shed for around $900, maybe. I saw some that were $2,000 or $3,000. It's like, I'm not spending that kind of money. So this doesn't need to be fancy. I am going to spray foam inside for both insulation and waterproofing. I haven't bought the foam yet, but Amazon has it. You get 12 cans for $164 along with a hazmat suit, a respirator, goggles, cleaning agent, and the gun to shoot it with. So I figure that's not bad for $164. And of course I got to put electric in there, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do for walls yet. Interior walls. I might use 1/4 inch plywood because I don't need anything really heavy. I'm not really going to be hanging anything off of it. Just basically for structural support and a little bit of soundproofing. And of course look better than a bunch of foamed insert there, so, you know. So that's the plan for that. And we're well on our way to getting stuff done. Now, the reason I haven't got the wood yet is because I'm still waiting to fix my Ford Ranger truck. Now I put a new idle air control solenoid in it. It did help it tremendously. However, it did not fix it. It idles better now, but it still stalls when you go to throttle it. That's what you think now, but you will add shelves. No, not likely, Derek. Not likely at all. I really don't need them. The benchwork will hold these small shelf units, small cabinets I'm making. So I went ahead and I ordered a mass airflow sensor because that can go bad. And of course I ordered a new air filter. This thing has a one of those, I don't know what the hell you call them. They're like round filters, but they're aftermarket. And the one that's on there looks like it's probably been on there since '03, you know. The guy put it on there. I don't know if it's ever been changed. I don't think it can be cleaned. So I went in and bought a new one. Of course, the mass airflow sensor is right behind that. And a bad mass airflow sensor can make it stall when you go to throttle it. Is it carb? No, it's fuel injected. It's '03. I wish it were a carb. That would be easy. But I got good fuel pressure, so the pump's good. Now the only other possibility is after I replace the filter and the mass airflow sensor is the throttle position sensor, which could be bad, but I don't think so. And nothing's thrown any code. The only code I'm getting is that the O2 sensors, there's two of them, left bank and right bank, are running lean. Doesn't mean they're bad, it just means that the fuel mixture going into the engine could be lean, which could be caused by idle air control solenoid, mass airflow sensor, throttle position sensor, you know, and an air filter. So I'm going to replace all that. Remember, this truck has 254,000 miles on it. That's more than 250,000 miles. It runs great. I had it idling out there for about 45 minutes. It idled just fine, but when I went to give it gas, it would like blah, 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 and then it would stall out. So there's obviously a problem there. So I want to get it fixed because that's what I want to use to haul the wood in. I'd really rather not use my car. Hey, Waycross Trade Spotter. Scott, how you doing? Besides Jim, I decided not to go to Disney World in October. I don't blame you. I won't go to Disney World at all. So, anyway, so that's the problem why I haven't gotten the wood yet. The parts are supposed to be here tomorrow. I ordered them from Amazon. They were relatively inexpensive, believe it or not. Usually mass airflow sensors could be from $150 to $300. This thing was 23 bucks. So I says, oh hell, I'll just get one of those and eat whether I need it or not, you know. So, they'll be here tomorrow. I'll get them in tomorrow. Hopefully that'll take care of the problem. I can start using the truck again. You know, the air conditioner works like a charm in that truck. It's an '03. My car's an '04 with less than 100,000 miles on it, and the AC took a shit, right? Go figure this stuff. Who knows why any of that happens. But it is what it is. So, now we're going to do this. It's time for a radioactive rant. Hey, Container Man, Roy, how you doing? Good to see you here. As you all know, I got Starlink. And I finally shut off Comcast, actually last night. You would not believe the shit I went through to have them turned it off. They didn't believe me, for one. I had to do a callback with my phone so they can verify it was actually me calling, which is kind of weird. So finally get a hold of an actual person. It's a woman. She goes, well, what can I do for you, sir? Well, I want to shut my Comcast off. Why would you want to do that, sir? I says, well, I got Starlink. I'm tired of having the problems with the Comcast. I do a live stream every Thursday night, and every Thursday night without fail, Comcast, lets me down. She says, well, sir, we could probably not. You can't. So I have a friend that lives 2 miles from you. Speaking of Tom Kvichak from Tom's Trains and Things. I said, he tried that shit, and he went for months, and you guys were practically there every other week, and I kept telling him there was nothing wrong with it, even though there was. I said, I don't have time or the patience for that. I said, I went to Starlink, because of Tom mostly. Exactly, Tom. Well, I did eventually say that because, I was getting a little pissed off at them because they were like, well, we don't understand why you want to drop your service, sir. Well, like I said, I do a live stream every Thursday night, and you're either throttling me or there's something wrong with your service. I says, I can't live stream without, it's stuttering, buffering, and cutting out, locking out. I said, that's bullshit. I'm not doing it, So I got Starlink, and you know what? It cost me a few dollars more, but I'm getting better service, so I'm just going to stick with that. So she goes, well, how much are you paying for your Starlink? I said, well, that's really not your business, but I'm paying $120 a month. I was paying $106 for you guys, and, your service is garbage. Well, sir, we're doing everything we can to make our service better. No, you're not. You're pocketing the money. You're not changing any of the lines. You're not changing any of the amplifiers. You just don't give a shit. Why haven't you gone over to, fiber yet? You started fiber and then you quit. That's stupid. By now, all of Sebring should be fiber. But no, because you don't want to spend the money. Well, sir, we don't really agree with that. I said, I don't care what you agree with. That's the truth of it. So she goes, so you absolutely want to cut the services. There's nothing we can talk about. I said, no. I said, I told you, I have Starlink. Why would I want your service after getting Starlink? There's nothing more you can do for me, Okay, well, we'll shut it off right now then if you want. Yep. You can shut it off a minute from now if you want. I don't care. I'll bring the equipment in tomorrow. The router and all, unload them, all that crap. I said, oh, I'll bring it back to you. I don't need it. Okay, sir. I'll click, right? So then this morning I get up and it's like, it was about 10 o'clock, I guess, because I slept late. But the fucking phone rings. I go, who the hell was this, right? I answer the phone. He says, sir, is this James Tedesco? I said, yeah. Who are you? He says, well, I'm a representative from Xfinity. I'm going, oh, shit. I says, yeah, so what can I do for you? He says, well, we want to know if you actually cut your service yesterday. I said, I thought we went through this last night. Of course I cut it, because I have Starlink. So, you can't make this shit up, man. So he goes, well, why would you do that? I go, seriously? You're actually going to ask me why I would drop Xfinity for Starlink? Yes, sir. Because your system sucks. I says, it doesn't work. I do a live stream every Thursday night. Usually lasts 2 or 3 hours, maybe more, maybe less, don't matter. And I said, the internet would work fine until I went live. Then the speeds would drop, I'd get interruptions, I'd get buffering. I said, I don't know if you guys are throttling me or, yeah, Comcast is Xfinity, for anybody who didn't know. I don't know if you guys are throttling me or your service is just garbage. I'm not sure which. At this point, I don't care because, I went with Starlink. Well, why would you think Starlink is better than Xfinity? I go, seriously? I couldn't believe this guy. I said, look, what part of Comcast sucks and it's not working for me or you're not understanding? I'm being nice to him, sort of. But, I'm also telling he's stupid, fucking, what the fuck? You think you could beg me to stay back or change my mind? Ain't gonna work, I don't care if you offer me the service for $25 a month. I don't want it because it doesn't work. So, how's that, Roy? Says my hometown had a freeze on who could provide internet service. The local phone company had it, but apparently after a certain time, years, AT&T was finally able to install fiber. AT&T had service. Well, there you go. See, we don't have fiber in most of Sebring, so that's a problem. Yeah, Chuck, basically Comcast refused to accept my resignation. And Derek goes, because it doesn't buffer and I have the speed test to prove it. Yeah, once again, Rice says AT&T was the original. Yeah, that's true, they were. Comcast had a monopoly here too, so I went with Dish. There you go. Well, that's the problem. I mean, and the reality is, like I said, they're not working on their infrastructure. Did I misdial the wrong channel? No, you're on the right channel, James. This is a rant, man. We're allowed to talk whatever we want to on a rant. So finally he got off the phone with me, and I'm thinking, what the fuck is wrong with these people? So we grabbed. I got a box of all the the crap that belonged to him. I had the modem, the modem router assembly, power supplies. Deb had the what was it, the Peacock, the Peacock box that comes with it. It was like a freebie, for TV stations. We threw that in there, the remote for that, power supply. I just throw everything in the box. They can have it. I don't want it. Can't use it anyway. So we go down, and they changed the whole place. Used to be like a little counter in the front, and it was usually a lot. I guess. Well, there was a lot of people there. A lot of them were returning their equipment, so I don't know if they got Starlink or not. They might have. So finally, this black woman, she calls me. She's, so you canceled your service. You want to return your equipment? I said, yeah, pretty much. She goes, so if you don't mind me asking, why did you drop, Xfinity? Because it sucks. I mean, how else could I put it, Oh, I dropped it because it's so great, and I couldn't handle having a great service, right? No, that's not really true, Tom. I'm usually not near the phone. But I have been bringing the phone out there with me on my live stream. But during the day, it's in the house. I'm out here. And when I get home for like dinner time, or a pee break or whatever, I'll glance at the phone and see if somebody called me. But other than that, no, it's like, So anyway, she goes, you can always come back to Comcast Xfinity if things don't work out with Starlink. And I just started laughing. She goes, I don't understand. What's so funny? I says, I've had Starlink for 2 months now. It's been flawless. I says, I don't think that we're going to have any issues, He never answers my call either. Oh, man. Got an insatiable thirst today. So, but when I call, I act like I work for Comcast. Fortunately, I never get calls from them as a rule. I haven't heard from them in the last 5 years. When I dropped the service, and boom, they're just wanting to call me, and basically they're trying to beg me to come back without being too obvious about it, but they are obvious. I don't call and he never answers me either. Oh, that's funny, Derek. So, I couldn't wait to get rid of the shit. When it all started last night, so it was right after Tom's show, Tom Kvichak and Tom Grassi. Because I watch both shows simultaneously. It's a little tricky, but I'm able to pull it off. James says, I went to OVR today. Cool. Did you buy anything? So, I got on their site and I figured I could cancel it right there on the site. There is no place on their whole website where you can cancel your service. You could upgrade your service, You probably even could downgrade your service, but you can't cut it. So they do have a chat bot, which is clearly IA. And I said, what can I do for you today? I'd like to cancel my service. What do I need to do that? Well, she did it first, but she found out that Starlink actually does work well. So there's no reason. And she can't afford it because I said, I'm not paying for it, The cheapest service they have is $70 a month. And she can't afford that. And then, I said, I'm not paying it, Not when I'm paying $120 for Starlink. So the Comcast CEO will be knocking at your door next. I wouldn't be a bit fucking surprised, Chuck. I'm telling you, I've never seen a more pathetic business. Usually when you want to drop a service from somebody, all right, fine, they'll either basically say fuck you nicely or whatever, and you're on your way, And usually you could cancel a service online as a rule. I mean, like if I wanted to close my bank account, for example, I go on my banking app or the website, and I'd like to close my account. Well, no problem, they do it. James said, yes, I did, Jim. Trains, remember trains, not cable crap. All right, well, hey, look, A rant is always an exception to the rule, so, it has to be that way. Can't really rant about trains because, what would be bad about trains? There'd be no ranting on that. Them are the Mormons, Chuck. So anyway, that was my rant. I just can't believe it. But I washed my hands of Comcast. So now I'm strictly on Starlink and we're good to go. And yay. Now, they didn't say whether I have a refund or not coming. I probably don't. I shouldn't owe them anything. I just paid the bill. So, if anything, I should get a refund, but I don't know. I don't really care at this point. I'm done with it, So, at least the black woman at the service center was actually pretty decent about it. I mean, the woman I talked to on the phone last night, I swear, it sounded like she was getting ready to cry because I was dropping, Comcast. I mean, that's what it sounded like. I could be wrong, but, she couldn't understand why I'd want to drop such a great service. I don't know. Anyway, rant over. Let's get on to other things. Hey, don't hold your breath. You're probably right, Jesse. And for any of you guys that come in late and you're wondering why this shit's on the screen, I have no fucking clue. I set up everything the way I usually do. I set up my overlay, and next thing you know, I got a different screen on my monitor. And I don't know why, and this is the way it's coming up. So it's like, okay. Crazy ass company, if they tried as hard to make the service good as they try to figure out why you dropped them, they would have a good... Yeah, that's probably true, And they're all convinced that, they're really, trying to make the service great, but it's not, And for what it is, it's kind of pricey. I mean, I was paying $106 a month for internet, which is not the top tier, but right under it, because Tom Kvichak, he had the top tier. I think he was paying $160 a month. And I wasn't getting the speeds they promised. Of course, they cover their ass like that by saying, you can get up to, which means you can also get below that and it's acceptable, which I think is bullshit, but it is what it is, so, I don't care. I'm just glad to get out from under it. So otherwise, let's see, what have I done in here the last week? A big fat zero. I've been printing. I printed another cabinet. They must not think that there is any competition. They're close. Oh, they know. Trust me. Starlink is really taking over a lot of Sebring because people are fed up with it. I mean, depending where you're at, especially the older sections of town, they haven't, nothing's been upgraded. So they're having more service problems than, say, the newer sections of town. So, and of course, and there are cheap, I think there's an $80 service from Starlink. Not quite as fast as the 120, but if you're not live streaming, it's more than sufficient to run your internet. And I think there's also a special, if you can find it, that gives you $50 a month. So, why wouldn't you do that? It just doesn't make sense to stick with a bad service. So, and like I said, they have nobody to blame but themselves anyway. So anyway, I built another cabinet. This one right here. I already got a stuff full of shit. I got LEDs, some electrical components. Can't see any of it. My wife just said Comcast internet is $129 here. That's a lot of money. That's more than Starlink. You guys are smart. You get Starlink. $120 a month. And the service is just as good, if not better. Tom says, Jim, chat overlay that works with StreamYard. You can set it to auto display all comments. Maybe OBS overlay has a setting. If it does, it did it itself, though, Tom. I didn't set it up. I didn't do anything different. I set it up the same way I do every week. And it's even a different, style the way it comes up. Actually, I did, Derek. And this is the way they came out. You still can't really see through them, but they look kind of cool. So right now I've got 3 cabinets. I'm probably going to make a 4th one soon, but I'm going through a lot of filament. I was just looking on Amazon, and they have a 4-pack of refills. No spools, but I have my own spools. For $42, so I think I'm going to get it. Jim, it is most likely a default setting in the OBS overlay. It could be, but I said I didn't change anything, Tom. So I don't know what the hell's going on. It worked great last week the way it was supposed to. This week it's different. I don't know why. I mean, it's a little weird when you think about it. Is clear more expensive than other colors? No, it's about the same price, Derek, but they're both PLA, but the clear, it seems like it could be more brittle than the colors. It's like I could probably easier for me to break that drawer than it would be one of the gray ones. It looks kind of cool. Like I said, I had a spool of it. It was getting old anyway, so I probably better use it before it goes bad, because filament will go bad over time. It'll get really brittle and difficult to print with. So I figured I didn't use all of it up. I still got about this much more on the spool. But I do windows and stuff with it too that don't have to be crystal clear, but translucent, whatever. I'm trying to think of who. That wasn't Sunlu brand. I think it was a different brand, because Sunlu didn't have clear at the time. Because I usually use Sunlu. But it worked though. I mean, it worked in the A1 with no problem. That's all that matters, So Comcast is riding the Shortline train tonight. No, they're not. Comcast is done. I don't have it anymore. I turned all the equipment in earlier today, and I'm strictly on Starlink now. Yeah, Comcast had a big derail. And the clear filament is more translucent than clear. Oh, Gussie clear transmission. It could be. I don't know. Like I said, I think it's just the way the clear works. I know some are clearer than others. I bought some time ago. That's why I bought some for the resin printer. And it's actually more clear than the filament is. Not 100% clear, but close. So I'm sure that somebody makes a really clear filament. I just got to figure out who it is, you know. Thomas, what is the clearest? Well, Tom might know. James says, Derek, I picked up 5 locomotives today. Cool. Which ones did you get, James? Road numbers and road names, please. I tell you, this soda, man, this is even the worst taste in my mouth for some reason. I'll start bringing water in here. So, yeah, it's been a busy weekend. You know, that's the problem. I got so many things going on. It's hard to come in here, really. I started to... So the only reason I'm not running trains yet is because... Well, you can't see it, but... The drop-down arm is powered when it's down. But that side of the track is not. I've got to hook the wires up. I've got to, resolder onto the rails. And I'll have power on that side. I already have power on this side. So it's just a matter of, really just soldering the wires up. And I drilled the pilot holes for the wires to come up through. And it's just 2 wires, Well, actually it's 4. 2 per track. So hopefully I'll have trains running by next week. I know I keep saying that. And it just doesn't happen. Hey, Russ, rocking old trains and stuff. How you doing, Russ? Good to see you here. So, hopefully I'll get the trains running. Hey, Debbie moved some of her stuff in here to work on her glass and jar factory and all the stuff that I printed for her. She's going to have to sit down and paint figures and animals and stuff and get everything laid out the way she wants. Hopefully she'll start on that soon. Other than that, well, I got kind of a mess going on here, but as soon as I get these 2 tracks powered, I'll clean off that area of the bench and put the sugar factory back in place. I might do some paint work on it too. We'll see. And other than that, well, there's a lot of stuff I need to do. I got the motor man, as I told you last week, from Tom Grassi, and I should probably find a place to mount it, somewhere in the fascia, and start thinking about wiring that up for the overhead rail system and getting that going, because that's operational. It's just not on the motor man yet to where it's automated. And of course I have to isolate that from the rest of the system. That shouldn't be that big of a deal either. And of course I still got to lay down the main line, well, the short line for the sugar train. Some of it's in already. I've just got to tie it together and add some more track. And then I'll have to get a motor man for that too. I don't know when that'll happen. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I just, like I said, my biggest priority right now, actually other than the train room, is the secondary room, so I could get that finished, get the electric and lighting in there, the bench work in there, and move the printers and some of the other things out there, which will free up area in here. And like I said, I'll take, I don't know if you can see it or not. My fat ass is always in the way, but that's a bench that's underneath the printer. That's going to stay in here probably. Well, I'm going to get a second one, but so I don't know if I'll put this one in the other room and put the new one out here. Probably will, because this has paint stains on it and stuff, and there's no reason to have something like that in here. So I'll put that out there in the new room and get a new one for in here, so I'll have like a workbench where I'll set up a camera on and a microphone, so that if I want to work things during a live stream, you guys can, watch along with me. So, that's what I'm saying. I might do that. That's the plan at some point. I don't know when, but it will in fact happen. So I got a lot of plans, but a lot of it is, of course, it's time and, of course, some money. Go via live at 7. I will come back. Okay, James. Thank you much, sir, for coming in. And we'll probably still be here when they're done. Who knows? I don't know if I want to go long tonight, but we'll see. Guess it all depends what we start talking about. But, so, yeah, I got a lot of different things that I want to get done. It's just a matter of finding it. No, the time isn't so much of a problem as it is the money. When you go from gray to clear, do you have to clean the head? No, it's pretty cool the way they do it. You unload it first. There's a button on there, and it'll disengage it from the print head or the hot end. And then you'll spin the reel backwards to feed it back through the line. Change it out, feed the new color in till it hits the print head. Then you'll hit the load button on the printer. It'll load it. It'll clean out whatever's still in the head and load the new stuff on. And when it changes, I don't know how it knows, but it changes the color and the color's pure, it'll say it's ready to go. And then you can load your print in after that. It's pretty slick the way it works. So yeah, but it does clean out the other color that you've stopped using. So the whole thing only takes like 5 minutes to do. It's not a big deal. Derek said, Big Jim, when James leaves at 7, we could talk about anything we want, even about James. Yes, we could. Derek, you're such a bad guy, man. But funny, nevertheless. So, yeah, it's... that A1 is a great machine. I mean, in some ways, see, the nice thing about it is it's considered a direct drive for the filament, because the drive mechanism is right on top of the print hot end. Where on the Viper, the drive was away from the hot end, and which also meant that was also a big problem if, like, well, of course, it had a sensor, an out of filament sensor, but then you had to backtrack and pull about 2 or 3 foot of filament out that you ultimately wasted before you could change colors. And if you did run out of filament, if the sensor didn't pick it up quite, it would continue printing but with nothing. It was a real pain in the ass. Tom says the Bamboo Labs printer always cleans the nozzle before each print. That's called poop, or shit for you adults. Yes, I got the shit tank there too, the shit box, or, well, it's really called a poop box, but I call it the shit box because, I'm an adult and I don't use the word poop. But it fills up pretty quickly too. I mean, there's a little bit of waste there, but it's not that much to worry about, Well, I printed the box from the Bamboo Labs STL website. I guess it's theirs anyway, or something to do with them. And it fits right in place, and it works beautifully. Because otherwise, it just throws it off in there. Jim, can you pop up my link, please? Go ahead and post it, Jesse. I can't put it up, but well, it'll go up on the screen either way. But you can post your link. I can't do anything with it here, though, as far as that goes. Not set up for that. John says, Tom, I passed that info along to my bud. He said, thanks. Oh, cool. I'll tell you what, anybody's going to buy a 3D printer, that's the one to buy. Chisel for us who save our cuss words for Dems. There you go. Okay, Derek, start talking. I am gone. See you later, James. Thanks for popping in, man. It won't let you. It won't let you? Why not? It should. Never had a problem posting links before. Let's see. I don't know why it's not doing it. Oh, Jesse's not a mod. We can fix that. Hang on a minute. Where the hell did you go? All right, you're a moderator now, Jesse. So go ahead and try and punch up, because like I said, all right, Joe said you have to be a moderator to post links. I wasn't aware of that. Well, you're a moderator now, Jesse, so go ahead and post your link. I'll tell you, all these stupid rules, huh? Like, what the fuck? So, what the hell was I talking about? I don't even remember now. Well, Jesse's putting up his link. Let me go ahead and... There you go, there's your link. Hey, I guess you do have to be a moderator for a link. Cool. I'm going to have any gyms, any trains ready. No, not yet, John. Hopefully next week, we'll see. I got a glass bottle of Coke with actually cane sugar in it. You know, the same cane that they haul on the sugar line. This stuff is good, but man, is it expensive. I bought a 6-pack of it the other day. It was $9. So, you have to take the caps off with a bottle opener. Alright, guys, I posted a link on another guy's show, and I was not a moderator on that show. It works without being... that's weird. Well, he's Sparky says, okay, beer o'clock for me, chatting a bit. Okay, that's cool. My latest channel with the new layout. I'll have to check that out later, Jesse. Derek says that is a protection, Big Jim, so a bot or some channel doesn't come on your stream and post. Yeah, that makes sense. Those little green Cokes are the best. Yeah, I'll tell you what. $9 for a 6-pack. It's expensive, but man, this tastes like the stuff I used to drink when I was a kid, you know? It's way different than the canned Coke. Brother, you drink too much. Not really. I try not to anyway. Russ says, hey Jesse, go meet Bob the Train Cat on my channel if you haven't yet. There you go. I'm drinking a mint julep, getting in some derby practice. I've never had a mint julep before. Of course, I don't really drink alcohol. I used to when I was younger, but I kind of quit. One more sub and Jesse will be at 600. Oh, good deal, man. I'm still at, I don't know what the hell I'm at. What am I at here? 524 for me. Got a little ways to go before it's 600. Hot dog pie with Andy. Hey, Andy, how you doing? Yeah, you're late again, but that's all right. We won't hold it against you. 2 of those bottles, originals with Dale Earhart's picture on them. Oh, that's cool. T24. Thomas, let me test your theory because I'm not a mod here. Okay, yeah, give it a shot, Roy. I've never noticed that. I mean, I posted links in other guys' channels before, but I was a moderator, so I never put 2 and 2 together with that, though, you know. I mean, I never tried to do it if I wasn't a mod. But it makes sense, though, why they would want you to be a moderator before you can post links. Not wise to drink alcohol when you're diabetic. Well, that's true. Like I said, I had a beer, I think it was around 8 years ago. And it was one of those Australian beers. One in the big-ass can. I only drank half the can. I couldn't drink anymore. I didn't get drunk or anything, but I don't know, it just didn't taste good as far as I was concerned. So, you know, it is what it is. You know, I can make those things smaller, but I figure it's only taking up not quite half the screen, so I'm not going to worry about it, but I got to try and figure out how the hell they got up there. John says, so Jim, I have to ask, what are you thinking about the Artemis 2? You sure you want to go there? There's a vodka called 3 and it has no sugar or carbs. Really? Oh man, me and vodka don't get along real well though, so probably not. Artemis 2, well, you guys are probably going to laugh at me, call me an idiot or whatever, but I think they're faking the whole thing. I'm sorry, I just do. The picture they took of the Earth only shows one landmass, nothing else. And then one of the clouds has like 3 fingers on it. It's kind of weird. It looks like it was, you know, AI or CGI or something, you know. And of course, you know, when they got past the halfway point, they were closer to the moon than the Earth. They took a shot of the Earth, it was like this big. Like if you were looking at the moon from here. Then they took a shot of the moon, and it still looked this big, even though they were halfway there. I'm telling you, there's something wrong with the whole thing. And then, oh yeah, then there was a glitch on the green screen that they're using. It glitched out, and somebody caught it. I didn't see it. I'm just thinking, you know what, look. And of course, then they lie, and they don't even get their story straight. The other day they said, when they circle the moon, it'll be the farthest man, or it'll be the first time Americans or men have seen the backside of the moon. Well, if we went there before in '69, and the astronaut orbited the moon while the other guys were on the moon, how could he not see the backside of the moon? So somebody's lying about something, you know. It just... And that's not true, Andy, because they're probably in on it. You know, look, you know, you give somebody enough money. Look, if I came up with a really fantastic lie, and you knew I was full of shit, I said, look, here's $1 million. Keep your mouth shut. Are you going to open your mouth, or are you going to take the $1 million and shut up? I'm sure that's what we did with the rest of the world. Because there's no way we could have fooled everybody, you know. Now, the Chinese supposedly landed a craft unmanned on the far side of the moon. How come we didn't see it? Because that was fake, too. They're all faking everybody. What this is money laundering 101. It was something like $30 billion to do this orbital moon deal. Now, where did that money really go? It went somewhere else. Trust me, I know it did. Yeah, see, that makes sense too, Derek. That's what I'm saying. It's dark on the far side. Yeah, it could be. It was, Russ says, Steven Crowder says Artemis 2 was faked. Don't know for sure, but not laughing at you, Jim. I think Benny Johnson might have said it was fake. It is. You can't leave the Earth. All right, first off, there's a whole thing. I mean, this is all, I tell you stuff that makes sense, but nobody thinks about it. And it's never really answered if you ask the question. There's an area of the Earth around the atmosphere. It's called the thermosphere. It's 4,000 degrees. Now, going through it may not necessarily melt the spacecraft, although you think it would, because it's basically an aluminum can. But what kind of air conditioner can reduce 4,000 degrees to a comfortable, say, 78 or 74 degrees? No such air conditioning exists. They would have fried inside. They would have died instantly. That's number one thing. Okay, here's another one. Now, there's a lot of stuff we were taught in school. Was that Thomas? Jim, the people working for NASA now are kids that was not taught history in school when they learned about changing their binary. That's true. Jim says filmed it all. It could have been, you know. When they're now they're taught re-entry. Okay, now there's going to be problems. Now I've got also a prediction that may or may not happen. It depends how far they're willing to pull this fraud. But they're claiming that on re-entry, they'll be reaching over, what do they say, 5,000 degrees? Or 10,000 degrees, the same temperature as the sun. The sun is not 10,000 degrees. It's measured in Kelvin degrees because it's like 1,000,000 degrees, okay? So it's not the same temperature as the sun. But here's the problem. They claim that they're coming into orbit, into the planet, at 22,500 miles an hour. Okay? Now, if they slow down before they reach that, you know, because that's what they're coming, that's what they travel at. If they get down to, say, maybe 1,000 miles an hour, re-entry, there wouldn't be any heat friction buildup as they're re-entering the atmosphere. And terminal velocity states you cannot fall faster than 120 miles an hour unless you're powered. Well, there's no power on the spacecraft. It's basically, there's no fuel left in it. So it's free falling. Free fall speed is 120 miles an hour. That's called terminal velocity. So no matter whether you throw a bowling ball from 30,000 feet or 100,000 feet, an airplane, a person, whatever, they will never exceed 120 miles an hour because that's terminal velocity. That's the fastest you could travel on free fall. And how do you reduce 22,500 miles an hour down to 5 miles an hour before they hit the ocean? At 22,000 miles an hour, even a 300-mile descent, you're still going to be coming in way too fast. And remember, there's no retro rockets or anything on the capsule that could slow it down because it's out of fuel. And of course, now they're saying that the heat shields may fail anyway. They don't even know if these idiots will survive the re-entry into Earth. So, I don't know. Okay, then why do you see meteorites? Well, meteorites are sort of powered. They're coming in at a ridiculous speed. So I think that last one that supposedly hit in Ohio was doing 30,000 miles an hour. And I think that's bullshit too, because theoretically nothing should be able to get into the Earth. But now all of a sudden we're getting hit with meteorites all over the place? Really? Why now? Why not ever before? How can the moon rotate at the exact speed it needs to so the Earth can only see one side of the moon? If it rotates, then the dark side would come into the light of the sun. Yeah, they claim that it does rotate, but I don't know how. We don't see it. It's always the same side facing us, so I don't know. I think they're lying about all that shit. I think that's the problem is that most of us old timers, we were taught things in school, okay? The kids today, they don't know shit like, John pointed out. They're a bunch of idiots. So they're the ones that are gullible enough to believe this. Now, supposedly, Artemis 4 or 5, by 2028, they're going to build a base on the moon. Bullshit. And for a lot of different reasons. One, the moon is very susceptible to meteorites slamming into the surface. That's all the craters got there. It's still happening. It never stops. They have no way to shield a base from getting hit with meteorites. Even micrometeorites could destroy the buildings. So how are they going to protect these buildings? And I mean, that would be very, very unsafe to be up there. And what would it cost and who's paying for it? That's another question, too. So my thinking is they got to find a way to get out of this without admitting that it's all bullshit. So maybe they'll have an accident on re-entry and all the astronauts will die. I mean, they won't because they weren't in here to begin with because nothing left, But they'll make it look like, oh, it's like the space shuttle. They claim the 7 astronauts that blew up in the shuttle. But there are people that said they're still alive under different names. They look exactly the same except, they're aged a little bit, but they changed their names, but they're alive and well. Once again, they had to shut down the shuttle system because it was probably largely bullshit anyway. It was a glorified airplane anyway, to be honest with you. The best way to shut down a program is to have an accident. Automatic aiming lasers to shoot the meteors. Yeah, that ain't gonna work there. They can't even catch a fairly big one that hit Ohio, even though it didn't. Like I said, that was not a meteorite. I guarantee it wasn't. It was probably a plane that got shot down or a wheel that fell off the plane or who the fuck knows. Could have been a terrorist attack for all we know, Might have been a fucking Iranian missile that got through our defense system. And then they still can't, as far as I know, they still haven't found the fucking landing site of the meteor either. They don't know where it crashed. How could you not know? Where's all the fancy radars and shit? I saw the video footage of that. It looks like it burns out long before it hit the ground. Well, isn't that fucking convenient? Although they claim there was a big boom when it hit. I watched the footage. It was from a Ring doorbell, which had sound, because you can hear traffic and other shit going on. I never heard a boom. I'm telling you, they're fucking lying, man. The Bible says God placed the moon, sun, and stars in the firmament of heaven. Does anyone really think we can go to heaven in a spaceship? No, we can't. Like I said, I believe that there's a dome over us, and there's been some evidence that it's true. Look up Project Fishbowl or Project Dominic. Look up those two projects where we tried to nuke the fucking dome, supposedly, and it didn't hurt the dome any. I'm telling you, I just don't think that we can go anywhere. And I don't think the moon's 240,000 miles away either. Not only that, but why did it take 10 days to get there and back? At 22,500 miles an hour, The moon is 240,000 miles away. Should have took 8 to 10 hours to get there. Not days, hours. And that's another problem. The astronauts that, no, they didn't blow up. They're alive. There's already proof that they're alive, so the whole thing was rigged. You know, because remember some of the stories. He said they found what was left of the bodies in the bottom of the water. If they exploded, there'd be nothing left. You know. It's all fake, man. Trust me, all this shit's fake. The space station is fake. It's not real either. It's all underwater. And they admit it because they have an underwater facsimile of the ISS where their astronauts train. But when they show us footage of them on the space station, if you look carefully, sometimes you'll see oxygen bubbles emanating from their bodies. If they had, as if they had oxygen gear on. And the whole thing's bullshit, man. That's not something that should too soon. Also, Musk's venture isn't faring well. Yeah, well, once again, I think he knows the truth, too, that you can't leave. We're not going to Mars. How the fuck? Why would you even want to go to Mars? It has no real atmosphere. It's a one-way trip, so if you go there, you're never coming back. You know. It's not happening, man. It's just a pipe dream. That's all it is, It sounds great. Trust me, I want to believe that we can go out in space too, but... Well, there's something there, Andy, but it doesn't mean that what you're seeing on TV is what's actually up there. The thing might be up there, but it's not manned. And once again, it operates in the thermosphere. 4,000 degrees Fahrenheit. You could look this up. It's all in the books. It's not fake. It's not hearsay. Look up thermosphere. Find out what the temperature is. It's 4,000 degrees plus. That's where all the satellites hang out. That's where the ISS is. Well, what's the last time you could fucking... What do we have that will withstand 4,000 degrees? Literally no metals we have will withstand that. Just like they supposedly built and they showed a picture of it. They have a nuclear reactor. It's a fusion reactor. Doesn't explode, but it converts the atoms into fusion to create electricity. Problem is that fusion creates temperatures that near the sun. Like, 1,000 or 100,000 degrees Kelvin or some shit like that. And they got this thing in what looks like an aluminum can. And I'm trying to figure out how an aluminum can withstand that kind of temperature. And they admit it. Oh, we got the temperature of the sun in there. Well, how's it not melting? But people see this shit and they believe it because, well, they want to believe that, fantasy is reality, but it ain't. Yeah. The same reason why, once again, they orbited the moon. Why didn't they show us pictures of all the fucking old stuff left behind the Apollo missions? Because they ain't there. And it's amazing that, and you listen to this shit. Well, that's true, Tom. If we haven't actually went there, we wouldn't know, but that's what the fucking history books are telling us. They're science books. I looked into it, and it's like 4,000 degrees. Most satellites are aluminum based or titanium, which will melt at 4,000 degrees. Not only that, but what kind of electronics can withstand that type of operating temperature? None. And there's no air conditioner anywhere that can reduce a 4,000 degree fucking heat to a 60 degree or 70 degree fucking normal climate. It's just they don't exist. You can't do it. Once again, if If that spacecraft were real, the astronauts would have dropped dead going through the thermosphere at 4,000 degrees. Or they would die on re-entry. Same with the Apollo astronauts, same problem. So, well, it's like 10,000 degrees the bottom of the ship that, from the re-entry. What kind of air conditioner would protect them from that? We don't have such a thing. That's true. How many thermometers go up that high? The same fakes showing you what they're doing are the same fakes that wrote the book. That's true. Like I say, you don't really know anything. Does anyone have a thermometer? That's what I'm saying. It's just, there's too many things that make it not possible. That is just common sense would tell you that. But most people don't think about it. Go, wow, And what happened to the Van Allen, not Van Halen? Somebody on the internet keeps calling them the Van Halen radiation belts. Well, it's not Van Halen because that's a rock group. The Van Allen radiation belts are not killing the astronauts. They're saying, we're going through it, no problem. We just hide under all the junk in the spaceship. That's their shielding. Bags of food and clothing and other assorted crap. Yeah, we get down underneath all of it and we're protected from the Van Allen radiation. Sure you are. And they didn't have that stuff on the Apollo mission. They didn't have nothing to hide it because they barely had enough room to sit in the damn craft. They had zero shielding. Why didn't they die? But the Russian who tried to go through the Van Allen red did die. It's in their history books. And that's how they found out about the radiation belts, because they sent an astronaut up there and he went a little too far out and he got fried from the radiation. My grill doesn't go that high, Tom. What does Chris cook their steaks at? That's a good question. What I'm saying is there's a million reasons why this can't be real. And like I said, they show a picture of the Earth. Every picture they've taken of the Earth, from the Apollo missions, from satellites, from probes, every one of them are different. Now you tell me what, the land masses on the Earth change every couple of years? In one picture, Africa is small, and the United States is actually bigger than Africa. They fucked that one up, didn't they? Then another one, Africa is too far over from South America. I mean, it's all bullshit. Tom says my gas stove goes as high as 500 degrees. That's about all mine does, I mean, it's enough to fuck you up if you stuck your hand in it, but that's about it. Of course it's all fake, And remember, they launched on April Fool's Day. That should have been the giveaway right there, April Fools, we launched the crew to the moon. I mean, I'm just not buying it. So I'm thinking they probably have to have some accident where they'll kill the astronauts, or make it look like they did. They won't really die because they're not up there. And that will throw back the timeline maybe 20 years or more. So they won't look stupid when we don't actually build a base on the moon. The Chinese, they're not going to build a base on the moon because they know they can't either. The Japanese tried to get to the moon and failed. I think somebody else tried to get there and they failed too. Was it ESA? European Space Association? Nobody's been able to do it. We're the only ones. So what are we special now? It's all bullshit. What was the other thing I was going to point out and I forgot already? I said, you can laugh at me if you want. You can call me an idiot. I don't care. But you cannot convince me that any of this shit is real. You just can't. Oh yeah, and another problem. Yeah, I think India was working on one too. Another problem that I can't figure out. They're using the internet to transmit the photos and communications from the ship to the Earth. Now, there was a big, when they were using regular radio signals, there was a delay between transmission and reception. This is crystal clear, perfect color. They're using their iPhones to take pictures of the Earth with. How is that working? I mean, my fucking phone don't work if I get too far away from the cell tower. That's like 3 or 4 miles. But they could be 200,000 miles away and their cell phones work perfectly. Sure they do. There says if we didn't do it because of all those reasons, then we will be the only ones to do it. Yeah, that's probably true. Like I said, I don't buy none of it. I mean, it's a cool idea. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm sure I used to fantasize, about going in a spaceship and cruising the galaxy and doing all kinds of fun shit. But that's a kid's dream, It's a fantasy. John's laughing because he's the one that hit the hornet's nest. There you go. I mean, we all had those dreams when we were kids, I think, But the reality is, they have a special Wi-Fi system on it. Yeah, bullshit. When the ship took off, the network couldn't even keep the picture without blackouts. They must have Comcast. Yeah, maybe. Hey, should have got Starlink. All right, that's what I was saying. Now, isn't it convenient that there's a radio blackout on re-entry? You know why there's a blackout, right? Not because of some fucking bullshit technicality, because that's how they load the astronauts back in the capsule, drop it off an airplane, and let it, come down after they, torch it a little bit to make it look like it re-entered, crispy. And I think that's how they're doing it, because there's there's a 5-minute blackout between, they lose communication and visual when they're re-entering. Wasn't that fucking convenient? That's just enough time to, load them up in a fake spacecraft, throw it out the plane, let the chutes open, and oh look, there it is, you can see it now. There's no reason for that blackout. And once again, if there was a blackout, how are they communicating once they go beyond the blackout? It's like, picture a wall out there, right? You can't see beyond the wall, and you can't talk beyond the wall. But they are, as a matter, it's a 1 minute, 1 minute, whatever. But still, how are they communicating beyond that blackout? The blackout should basically wipe out all audio visuals past that blackout area. Unless, of course, it's magic and only works in a little tiny area, and then once you get beyond that, you resume regular communication. Sorry, not buying it. It's bullshit. Woohoo, there it is. Guys, I might be completely fucking whacked out and wrong, but I don't think so. I'm just putting all this shit together and going, all right, explain these things. There's no reason for it. So how does Starlink, which is supposedly satellite, which I'm sure it is, to some degree. I think they're real low satellites. Where they had to 100 miles or something like that up. They're not quite as high up as the other ones. How do they communicate through that blackout zone? The blackout zone would prevent them from broadcasting or receiving a signal from the ground. Prove me wrong. You can't, because it doesn't make sense, I don't know, guys. I'm just telling you, the whole thing is bullshit. It's all faked. Yeah. How do you forget how to build the Saturn V rocket? Well, we lost the blueprints. The greatest fucking adventure that man has ever made in the entire history of man, and they lost it? Are you kidding me? Lots of helium, yeah. That's another thing, too. It's got to be Starlink. There you go. And would the Starlink actually fix that problem anyway? I mean, if Starlink works between up there and here, there's no blackout zone, then technically there shouldn't be a blackout zone between the spacecraft and the ground. I think I'd be wasting my breath. Yeah, you would be. Is the blackout zone above or below the fart zone? That I don't know, Chuck. I'm thinking about everything over 100 miles is probably the fart zone. Wouldn't the ship coming through the atmosphere with a glowing bottom be visible to the cameras on the ground? You would think. But they never are for some reason. How do you figure that happens, right? I thought the blackout zone was the alley beside the bar. Hey, TV Model Railroad. How you doing, man? Good to see you here. We're debunking the moonshot. Artemis 2. And where do they come up with the names for these things? Remember, Artemis was the guy with the bow and arrow, right? Yeah, alright. So, I don't know, I guess it's all bullshit, you know. It's like when they said when they first launched, they went to sleep. And I'm thinking, who the fuck can sleep during one of the greatest adventures of mankind? You know. I wouldn't be able to sleep, man. I'd be up the whole fucking 10 days, like, yeah, we're going to the moon. And how can there be a God that no one can see and people pray to him every day? Hey, Rick, how's it going? Well, there is a God. Just because we can't see him doesn't mean he isn't real. But I think there's a greater chance that there's a God than there is a spaceship going to the moon. No. I personally believe in God and Jesus Christ. Yeah, they do. They use mythology to push the myth. That's very true, Jesse. Yeah. It's like, and the same thing, you know, was it that one idiot down in NASA says, well, we're pretty reasonably sure there are aliens out there. Why would you even say that? You know. I mean, there was no reason for that to be brought up, but yet here they are. And once again, they're trying to prep us for Project Bluebeam, which is an alien invasion, which will be faked, you know. That's just the way I see it. There's no aliens. Are there demons from Satan? Probably. And apparently they do have the capability to come to Earth. Or maybe they're already on Earth, I don't know. But there's no fucking Martians or Greys or any of that shit. If anything, they're fucking demons posing as aliens. That's what I said, Derek. They're launched on April Fool's Day. And I'm sure they're laughing their asses off about it. How could they not be? I want to know where the aliens are getting their microprocessors. They probably reverse engineered ours, right? Nah, if that were true, they'd never get anywhere. That's another thing. They just assume that they're using a similar technology that we are because, you know, we're the only ones that can produce that tech. Well, that's bullshit, too. Roy says the Democrats are lizards or aliens. Yeah, they could be. Aliens would have made their move by now. That's true. Now we're talking about illegals. Aliens posing as Democrats. You guys ever watch Johnny B? He's funny as shit. He's on every day. He's got something Monday, Tinfoil Tuesday, Wacky Wednesday. He's got something, and then of course Fridays. And he was the other day. He was talking about Ellen DeGeneres. I call her Ellen Degenerate. She's the lesbian, you know. And supposedly, and I'm sure this is probably bullshit, or maybe it's not. One of the guys working for her in her studio at the time claims he accidentally peeked in her dressing room and saw her dislodge her jaw and eat an entire chicken in one bite. He claims she's a lizard person. Who the hell knows? I mean, there's something going on there, but I don't know what. I believe there's other life forms out there. Space is not. That's the thing, though, Rick. Space is not vast. All right? What if there's nothing beyond the dome except maybe God's living room? That's why we can't leave it. You know, supposedly when God created the heavens and the earth, it's all pretty much contained within the firmament, which is the dome. Beyond the dome is supposedly God's domain. Could be his house. We could be in his basement or something. Nobody knows, you know. I certainly don't know. But if there were other life forms out there, there's only two ways it could go. They're either so advanced they'd make us look like morons, in which case why would they waste their time with us, you know. Or they're no better than us, which means they'll never get here ever. It's going to have to go one way or the other. The Bible says it's water. That's true. There's water above and water below the firmament. I mean, I know it's a tough thing to conceptualize. I mean, everybody would probably have a problem with it. If she can do that, it's too bad she's a lesbian. I get where you're going with that one. And an ugly one at that. I mean, let's face it, I wouldn't fuck her with your dick. You know, I wouldn't go near that, man. It's just too weird for me. But trust me, there's no aliens out there. And if there were, they sure as hell wouldn't waste their time with us. Because according to science and these so-called experts, hey, GRE 2057, Jesse, how you doing? Or Ray, rather, excuse me. Separation of church and state, Jim. I am out of here. Okay, no problem. Are you taking off too, Andy? All right, we'll see you later, man. Shit, I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, everybody's even our scientists say, well, they'd have to be so far advanced from us because they figured out how to do interstellar travel and shit. Why would they waste their time with us? It'd be like us going to Africa and communicating with the insects over there. We don't do it because it would be a waste of time. It would be the same with any intelligent life forms that are out there that are so far advanced that we would basically be like the stupid ants in Africa. So, you know. That's all I got to say. I don't want to keep talking about it because I'm sure I made a few of you pissed off, which happens. Hey, Ken Amos, how you doing, Ken? Good to see you here. We're pets to the aliens. Yeah, maybe. That's it. Why would they invade us? What could we possibly have that they would need that they would just take anyway? Because if they're that far advanced from us, if they needed our water or something, they just take it. I have no problem, Chuck. I have a splashdown every day. There you go. Roy says they come here to study us so they won't become us and destroy their world. But if they're that far advanced, they've already been there and done that. At least according to us, anyway. I want to be around when all the Astro brothers realize how much money we wasted going to space. Yeah, you got that right, TV. Like I said, I just, I want to believe it, but I can't. Because there's just too many questions that I can't get reasonable answers to. Same thing, all right, so the way they did, they circle the Earth about a dozen times. We do. Artemis 2 did. Build up speed, and then slingshot away to get to the moon because they don't have any fuel to do it with. Okay, there's a lot of problems with that. First off, you can't break orbit unless you have power. You can't slingshot yourself out of orbit. It just wouldn't work. Okay? That's basic, what the hell you call it? Physics. That's basic physics. You need power to break orbit. They don't have power because there's no, all they could do is minor maneuvers. Either in orbit or in space. That's all they can do. So how do they break orbit without any power? That would be a problem. They found out there is actually some friction in space, because they used to think there was no friction. Once you started going, you would go forever. They found out that's not true. There's a small amount of friction, so how would you be able to maintain 22,500 miles an hour for a distance of 240,000 miles? You need power to do that. So then once you establish orbit around the moon, the same concept applies. You run around the moon a few times and slingshot your way back to Earth. But you need power to break orbit there too. There's problems with this whole thing, Hey, way across the skies is going to be hot in South Georgia next week, 93, and next Saturday, 98. May stop videoing trains. Yeah, at that temperature. Going to Hotlanta, huh? They claim to have done a 6-minute burn to increase the speed. 6 minutes wouldn't be enough. You would need absolute power to break orbit. That's physics, man. You can't deny that, Because remember, what keeps you in orbit is gravity. So you'd have to overcome the gravity that's keeping you in orbit. It would take more than a 6-minute burn. Once again, it requires a lot of fuel that they don't have in order to achieve that. And how did they do it again to break orbit from the moon? They've literally got nothing left except for a little bit of compressed air for minor maneuverable changes. I studied this shit, man. Trust me. Roy says, I thought this was a live stream on trains. Well, it is. Or it's supposed to be anyway. But I haven't done anything with the train, so, Nope, gravity is fake too. It might be, Jesse. I don't know on that. Yes, but gravity's effect dissipates. Oh, that's true, it would. But what's the distance? During the summer months only, video CSX train just before sunrise. 15 minutes before sunrise, and stop videoing trains at 10 a.m. There you go. Like I said, I don't have all the answers. I only know what I know. And once again, I don't believe any of it, And then explain to me why it takes 3 days to get to the moon, 240,000 miles, if you're traveling at 22,500 miles an hour. At 4 hours, you would travel 100,000 miles, which is just under half the distance to the moon. So roughly, you would get to the moon in about 9 hours, maybe 10 hours. But they're saying it's taken 3 days to get there. There's something wrong with the math. You know, apparently they think 2 plus 2 equals 5. Well, it don't. I don't know. You only need gravity on a spinning ball. Well, that's not necessarily true because there is gravity on the moon. It's 1/6 of that of Earth. And the moon, well, at least for a while there, we thought it didn't spin. But even if it does, it doesn't spin much. Roy, also an education show. If you catch enough shows, you will be awarded 3 credit hours toward your degree. There you go. I already had 2 cancer surgeries on my nose last October and December. Oh, that sucks, Scott. They got all of it, though, right? That's good. Skin cancer. That happens more often than not. My dad had it on his nose and one of his ears. It was small. They just cut it out, but you know, the good news is it didn't spread. So, I don't know, guys. You asked, I put my 2 cents in, that's all I can do. How do you know that? The same fake science? Well, that's the problem, Jesse. We don't really know what's right or what's true. Here's the problem with gravity. I once asked somebody who claimed that the Earth isn't flat. I said, okay, let's assume the Earth is a spinning ball. It's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It's 24,000 miles in diameter, hence the 24-hour day, because, you know, at 1,000 miles an hour we would rotate once. There's a lot of fucking water on the planet. If you took a tennis ball and soaked it in the water and spun it at 1,000 miles an hour, what do you think will happen to the water? It'll all fly off. And he says, well, that's different because the Earth has gravity. Okay. The gravity needed to hold billions of gallons of water would crush everything else. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate your opinion. Well, I mean, think about it. Am I right or not? So either gravity is bullshit or it's magic. It can tell the difference between a fly, a bird, a person, and the water. The amount of gravity it would take to hold the water to the planet, I mean billions or even trillions of, gallons of water, to hold it to the planet while it's spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, would crush everything else. We'd be, flatter than shit. So it either has to be magic or it's bullshit. And if it's a spinning ball, then it can't happen. A flat Earth, on the other hand, water seeks its own level. It always does. If you pour water on a curved object, it will run down and find a flat surface where it will level out. And you got the same gravity here on Earth that would cause that to happen. That also has to keep the water on a spinning ball. Not working. When I told the person that, they were like, well, you're wrong. Science knows better. I said, no, I'm not wrong. I'm right. Explain to me how gravity can hold billions or trillions of gallons of water to the planet and not crush everything in its wake. Of course they couldn't because, I think they knew at that point that, the Earth wasn't a spinning ball. Started off with a bad example using a hollow Earth. LOL. Hey Raymond, how you doing? Good to see you. Well, I don't think we're a hollow ball either. No, I think we're like a pizza or something like that, flat like that. I don't know. Somebody probably knows. I think most pilots know. And once again, there's further proof. Now, I've flown planes, not flown in them, actually flown them. Smaller aircraft, The altimeter in that thing, the artificial horizon, is a gyroscope. It's not electronic, it's not in the old planes, it's mechanical. When you're flying level, it shows you're flying level. It does not compensate for a curve. So if the Earth was a ball, you would fly out into space if you were flying a straight line on a curved ball. They're saying, oh no, gravity and everything else keeps you at a certain spot, even though the artificial horizon doesn't show that. The Earth is round, it's the world that is flat. That's a good one. So once again, there's no compensation for the Earth's curvature. And every pilot has to know this, you know. They're up there flying their 787s or whatever. They're not constantly changing the face to curvature of the Earth. And the curvature is I think it's noticeable, somewhat noticeable every 80 miles. So you're flying from Florida to New York, you have to be on a curved approach or you'd fly out into space. We are dismissing relativity. Well, I had a lot of respect for Einstein. You know, my dad supposedly met him. You know, my dad was born in 1919, so he would have been a young man when Einstein moved to New Jersey. Or was it? Wasn't he? He was in Princeton, I think. The college up there. I don't remember, but Einstein was a smart guy, but you know he wasn't a god either. And you know he claims that the theory of relativity, E equals mc squared, which is energy equals mass squared or some shit like that. It makes no sense to me. And he even said that he wasn't sure that we will ever achieve light speed travel. And how did they measure that? The speed of light is 186,000 miles every second. So right now, light just traveled 186,000 miles. And I did do the calculation to figure out what a light year was. It's an incredible distance that you can't even imagine. Now, if you want to get to Alpha Centauri, for example, which is the closest star system to our galaxy, it's 4.5 light years from here. That's pretty fucking far. It would take like 400 years to travel there by our current technology. Hello, man. Hey, Quasimodo. How's it going, man? Good to see you here. What the hell's going on here? We're having a scientific discussion of space travel and other bullshit. I like my time machine much better than walking. There you go. Give more power, Scotty. Need to go to warp 8. And that's another thing. Warp technology. Where you're bending space. You're actually stationary, but you're bringing the far end of the space, folding it toward you, and then crossing over, and now you're on the other side of the galaxy. How in the fuck do you fold space? I mean, think about it. It doesn't make sense. My time machine gets the train club. There you go. It's called density. Anything heavier than air requires no gravity. That's true. Don't confuse me with reality now, damn it. We're dealing in fantasy right here. Star Wars is where light speed exists. And Star Trek, too. Because the warp drive is basically a way to bend space. And they could do warp 8. Well, that was the fastest one they had. Warp 12. Flux capacitor bends space. Sure it does. Listen, all this shit is theory. Theory is guesswork. What you think could happen. Or what could be. Reality, on the other hand, is a completely different subject. And we got some idiot out there, he's a scientist, don't remember his name. Tried to go through a wormhole, but it was too small. All right, Roy, have a good one, man. Thanks for popping in. Maybe next week we'll actually talk about trains. I should have something to talk about then anyway. What the hell was I saying now? Lost my train of thought again. It got derailed. And that's another thing too. Now, once again, this goes back to Einstein's theory of relativity. If you were to travel at light speed, 186,000 miles per second, and went out into space and came back, everybody would have aged and you wouldn't. So every time you went out there and did warp 1 or whatever, which is 1 time the speed of light, you'd come back, all your family members would all be dead, and you'd still be young. The Earth surely is round, if not, cats would have knocked everything over the edge by now. I heard that before. I don't think so. Although they would probably try, but supposedly there's an ice wall around us. And it's what contains the water and everything else. But they say there's stuff beyond the dome and the ice wall that we don't know of. We don't know how big the Earth is. I mean, they got, we're 24,000 miles in diameter. Yeah, that's what they tell us, but we don't really know that. But there is something beyond the dome, but we've not been able to get out there. Jesse says, I find it easier to believe the Bible describes creation perfectly clear. Well, yes and no. This is another problem I got. Now, like I said, I'm kind of religious in my own way. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. He's our Lord and Savior. There's no question about it. I do have my doubts about creation, though. Only because I think we're being lied to about some of it. Now, I watched a video, and I've read this a long time ago, that the whole Adam and Eve thing and the apple was bullshit. What actually happened was the serpent, which was Satan, which wasn't actually a snake. He might have started out that way, but, he became a man, and he enticed Eve into illicit sex with her. And that's how we get the 2 seed lines of Cain and Abel. So he fucked Eve, and Adam they may have had a threesome. I don't know what they did, but that's where the problems came in. And that supposedly is the true story of how they fell from grace in Eden. And this bullshit that, a snake told her to eat an apple because it would make her smart doesn't even remotely make sense. My cats in particular. There you go. Actually, there's a video. I have it. I can't get you the link right now, but you can find it on YouTube. Just look at the true origins of the Garden of Eden, or the true story of Adam and Eve, or there's several different things you can point that goes to it, and it makes sense when you think about it. Well, like I said, they always clean things. All your fairy tales that you heard growing up as a kid, like Little Red Riding Hood and all the other ones out there, I can't think of Rapunzel. They were all fucking really nasty, and they were meant to scare kids back in the Dark Ages. But we cleaned them up because, we can't talk that way to our children. But the original stories were very dark and macabre. So, why wouldn't you think that the story of creation might be the same? No, I don't believe they were dinosaurs either. I believe they were giants. The tree of knowledge it may have necessarily not been an actual tree, but what the hell's the word for it? I can't think of the proper word, but like I said, the knowledge that was forbidden might have been sexual, you know. Remember, God created man and woman to become as one, not two men and one woman or two women and one man, even though most of us would like to do that. Some of us actually have. But, you know, but that was I think that was the forbidden knowledge. You know. Like I said, I wasn't there, so I don't really know. The story about God being pissed when he caught Eve bathing in the river is true. I'm not familiar with that story, Quasi. I would study further. There you go. Hey, Tom's Trains and Things. Tom, how's it going? You walked into a shitstorm, man. Those fossils were man-made artifacts. They might have been, hey, Ray Gigliotti, how you doing? I believe that there were giants. They were the Nephilim, according to the Bible. And, you know, you could rearrange bones any way you want. So, we don't know what the Nephilim look like. They're described as giant men. Remember, Goliath was a giant man, too, that David slayed. But we don't actually know if they look like men or not, you know. Remember, they were the offshoot of the fallen angels and human women. So they might have, who the hell knows what they look like. And once again, if you're trying to cover up the existence of God in the Bible, you could turn them bones, you rearrange them bones into, you know, exotic animals. Yeah, they were dinosaurs, see? We got proof right here. God said, now I'll never get that smell out of the fish. That's funny. Well, weird, but funny. God came down to visit Adam and Eve was missing. God asked Adam where she was. He told God she went swimming, and God said, oh, no. Now all the fish are going to smell like that. Oh. That's bad. Jesse says, pizza time to see you down the track. All right, Jesse, have a good one, man. I said I wasn't there, but I do believe that a lot of things have been hidden from us. And the Catholic Church, I don't know how many Catholics are in here, but I was born a Catholic and raised as a Catholic. And I turned against the Catholic religion many years ago. I said I'm not an atheist or anything, but I don't believe in any church. I think if you want to communicate with God, you can do it no matter where you're at. And the Bible basically backs me up on that. But the church has been lying to man for, well, since the beginning of time. You know. Man created cats in a laboratory later, you know. I don't know how cats were created, but it's strange. Like I said, I only know what I think I know, and that's it, you know. And do I really know anything? Probably not. Do any of us? Probably not. You know, we tend to look at things, try and come to our own conclusions, and if we think we're right, we'll stay with it, whether we're right or wrong, because there's no way of knowing. The only one that knows ain't talking. And that would be God himself, you know. I think it'd be cool if God would come down to earth and say, listen, you jackasses, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Here's what really happened, you know. I would love for that to happen, straighten us all out, you know. But I don't think he's going to do that. He might someday. I don't know. But I think that'd be the only way to know the absolute truth. I think everything we've been taught, everything we've been told, there may be some truth to it. Some of it's outright lies. Some of it's just a little bit of a lie, you know, to clean it up. And we'll never know any of it, what's true and what isn't. That's my opinion anyway. And that's that. What else are we going to talk about? Come on, something that's not religious or space or anything like that. Something generic. How's that sound? How's the stream doing anyway? Am I coming through all right? Is there any buffering or stuttering or freezing? What are you building in addition? Helix or printer room? It's going to be a printer room right behind me. I already bought the shed. It's this one right here. I got the shed in. It's a 6x8. It's a lean-to shed. I'll leave out some of the back panels and have an opening here for a doorway. Haven't decided whether I'm actually going to put a door in or not. But I've got to build it and make it a little more structurally sound by adding wood inside and insulation. I've got to build the floor. I've already got the joist hangers for the against this shed. To lay the 2x4s in. I got to get the 2x4s yet and the plywood for the floor. And once that's done, I figure I might have that done by sometime the end of next month. You know, because it's going to be slow going, and I've, you know, kind of spent my wad already, what I've already bought. And then after that's done, then I've got to build a tip out down further, and that's for the helix. And I say a tip out because that makes more sense. There's no reason to put another shed up for that. It's going to be 4 foot wide by 4 foot out and probably 2 or 3 foot tall. Because I don't need much of a helix to get from the bottom level to the second level. So that's in the plan for later on. So that's what I plan on doing, Quasi. So like I said, I'm going to start on the floor here pretty soon. The weather here has been really shitty. Not really hot or cold, but it seems like it's raining every day, and I don't want to work in the rain. Supposedly, there's not supposed to be any rain for the next couple of days after tonight. We'll see. Every time the news says something, the weather report says something, turns out to be wrong. So, but that's what I'd like to do and get started on that. And they said the first thing, of course, is the floor. Basically a square frame, a 2x4 standing up. And then every foot I'll have another 2x4. It'll be a little over, it'll be 8 foot wide, but about 6 foot 3 inches out. I'll have a little bit of a lip, which is fine. And I'll put 1/2 inch plywood on top of that. Now, the 2x4s are going to be pressure treated. They won't be on the ground, but they'll be pretty close. They really dry around here too much, so. Ha, lucky you. Don't forget the correct nails for the joist hangers. I won't be using nails, I'll be using deck screws. I like the deck screws. I bought a 5-pound box of them. And I got another 1-pound box of shorter ones. So basically, well, what I'll do is first, like these 2 holes here, or on this side, I'm not sure which side I'll use. They'll go in first. Then I'll get this leveled or pinched together for the 2x4. Then do the other 2 screws. And what they've got on the front here is they've got an angle there. I don't know if you can see it. Where you could drive a nail in at an angle from each side. I don't like nails too much. I'd rather use screws. So I'm thinking I could use the 2-inch screws in that. And they'll hold the 2x4 down in there. So this will be pinned to the wall really well. Along with the 2x4s. I'll probably use some straps on the outside. You know, screw the things in the ground. They're about 4 foot long. And they'll act as anchors. Just for extra stability. And the shed will not only be bolted to the floor, it'll also be bolted to the wall of the shed. So if it goes anywhere, it's taking the fucking shed with it. And I plan on reinforcing the walls and the roof. Because as I said, a lot of the guys said the roof wasn't very secure. It may not handle high winds. I needed to handle hurricane force winds. So I'll reinforce it and support. Plus Plus, I'm going to have wood on the inside all the way around anyway. I mean, 1/4-inch plywood on the walls and 1/4-inch plywood on the ceiling and the roof. They'll be screwed in. And I may actually bolt the roof to the wall to the wall frame. They I don't know if they've got, because they said there's some bolts in there and and a lot of screws. So I don't know if they're going to bolt the roof down or not. I don't trust screws. I'd rather use, nut and bolt and washers. And then I'm going to go ahead and buy the spray foam from Amazon and spray foam the whole inside of the shed, not the floor, but the walls and the ceiling before I put the wood on. So like as insulation and sound deadener, as well as they say it'll also work as a moisture barrier. So this way, because I can't have any leak in there either. So, because I'm going to have electronics out there. The A1 will go out there. Both my resin printers will go out there. My paint booth will go out there. The sink is going to be turned around. It'll be in the room. What else? The curing box, that'll be out there. Basically, anything to do with printing will be out in that room. And plus, I got all these. You can't see them here, but I don't think anyone. Let's see, will the overhead show that? No, that won't show it. How about? I still can't see it, but underneath the bench there, I've got 3-drawer plastic cases. I got all kinds of crap, and everything from train cars to scenery stuff, everything. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 of them. They can be stacked. So I'm going to stack them in that back room, which will give me better access to them. And it'll clean up this area in here. I don't really want anything underneath the bench work. So that's all going to go in the back room, along with, certain tools. Because I've got everything in here right now. I've got power tools in here. All kinds of crap. Well, looking good. Oh, thanks, man. Don't forget again. The screws are great for tightening the joint, but nails have a higher shear rating. Less likely for the shaft to break. Use screws for most, but large nails for the 2 holes going into the 2x4. You think so? I mean, I'll do it that way. If you're sure about that, absolutely. I mean, I've got nails. So I think I got a 10-pound box of nails. They're, what, a 6-penny or something like that? They're about yay long. So I could use those. Quasi said, I think Jim needs to run this whole nail screw yeah. Well, James is a carpenter, so he would probably know better than I would. Because like you said, it has to be solid. Like you said, going into the building itself, you want screws. I don't really need shear rating. I just need it to be, because the nail will pull off the wall. If you were to get high winds on the shed, for example, and it was just nailed to the walls, it could literally pull it off the wall with the nails. The screws, not so much, especially deck screws. Deck screws are they're pretty heavy duty. And I've got 3-inch deck screws, so they're going to be going into the studs as well of this shed. Same with the floor's got, I think they're 2x6s on the bottom that these will be going into. I said the only way you're going to rip these away is to take the fucking shed with it. So, direct, correct, hot dip galvanized. All right, there you go. So, like I said, I'm not too worried about it. And I said I will have anchors on the outer wall, or outer part of the floor. And I could actually set it up where I could run the straps over the frame, on the bottom frame of the shed, and through the plywood and back into, because they screw together. You could screw the strap. I'm trying to think of where the hell I have them at. I've got them somewhere, or I've seen them for mobile homes, I think. The same concept. Like I say, it has to stay. Of course, the good news is I've got trees behind that. The trees will actually stop some of the wind damage from a potential hurricane. And remember, a hurricane coming through here, Cat 2 would probably be tops, and that's not even normal. A Cat 1 is probably more likely because, you know, I'm dead center of the state. So one comes in off the Gulf, even a Cat 4 or 5, by the time it gets here, it drops down to a 1. The same if it comes from the East Coast, same deal. You know, it's literally 50 miles from either coast. So I'm not really worried about that. Like I said, I feel more secure here, and we've had a few hurricanes come through, than I did back in Naples, because Naples, you know, I was a mile from the water, from the Gulf. And how are you waterproofing the seam where the new shed meets the old one? It's all going to be the foam. It's closed cell foam. It's waterproof, and you spray it on the inside, and it seals everything. Plus, I'll probably be using some silicone sealant too. You know, or probably around the edges, because I plan on silicone sealing around the floor for that reason too. I can't have any water coming in. But you know, there's openings, like where the side panels go into the frame of the shed. There's openings there. I mean, you know, you have to seal them, and that's where the foam comes in. So, but as far as, you know, seepage underneath the frame rails would happen if it wasn't siliconed. So like I said, I got all that pretty much figured out. I'm not too worried about it. It'll be fun either way. But like I said, you know, I could do all this probably in a day if I were in, you know, good shape, but I'm not. You know, I get tired easy. I thought the shed was higher on this side, but it's not. My ground's not level. It's kind of on a slope. So there's about a foot on this side of the shed, but there's like 3 inches on this side of the shed. The shed's level, but it's just the way the ground is. So that means I'm probably going to have to get on my knees to screw these in, which is going to suck. I might be able to do it just by bending over. That Jim's not a flasher. But I don't know. Like I said, I'll figure it out when I get to it. I've got to put at least 8 of those up, because each 2x4 is going to be a foot apart, so 8 foot, you know, 8 hangers. So it could take me a couple of days to do, you know, to do 8 of them. I don't know. Then once I get the 2x4s, then I'll cut them down, like I said, because I'm buying 8 footers. I'll cut them down to probably 6'1", 6'2". Then I'm going to have an outer, you know, outer 2x4, which is going to add another 1.5 inches. So I think overall I'm going to wind up with probably 6 foot 4 inches, you know, and then 8 foot on the width. And I was reading in one of the reviews, one guy claimed it was a little over 8 foot, and he had to add a 2x4 to his floor frame. I could do that if I have to, and I'll have enough leftover plywood to be able to do that. So if it does go over the 8 foot, I'm equipped to add on to it. It's not a big deal. So we'll see, but and like I said, I'm only going to have a couple of panels on the shed side, just basically for anchoring probably. But you know, I've got to have an opening right here in the corner, right there. All that stuff's going to come down, and I'll have a doorway through there. I don't know if it'll probably be probably 27-inch wide, maybe 30. I don't know yet. And like I said, I may wind up putting a door there. I don't know that yet either. So, and it'll probably swing out, not in. We'll see. That'll come later on if I do, but there will be an opening, because the door on the shed, that's going to be locked down. That'll be screwed in. And I'm thinking about taking leftover panels from the wall side and putting them in place of the door. I don't need a door, so I could put them in place of the door and not have to worry about it. You know, one doorway is enough. So, we'll see. It should work out fine. I'm sure there's going to be some issues. There always are. But they should be easily overcome. And then once the shed's put up and bolted down, I'll check it for, leaks by spraying water all over the place. And if no water gets in, I'll go, okay, we're good. And then the next thing will be wiring. I'm just probably going to put in 3 outlets on the back wall. Or I may put them on this side of the wall. I don't know yet. Probably on the back wall because that's where I'll probably have the printers. Hey, Ray Bertelson, how you doing? Good to see you here. So I'm just going to probably put in, instead of double duplex, there'll be single duplex outlets, probably 3 or 4 of them. And they'll tie in with the wiring that's already here that'll come off the wall. They won't need them anymore. And then wiring for 2 light bulbs. Now I bought the lights. I've got those, what do they call them, flower lights. And they're LEDs, but they've got like wings on them, and you fold out and you can aim them wherever you want. And they just screw into a regular light socket. So I'm not sure if I'm going to mount them on this side wall or on the ceiling. Because it's going to be a little tight quarters in there, but I'm short, so it's not a problem. But we'll see. And you'll see it as it's going along, because I'll videotape as I go through. I won't bore you with all the bullshit, but, I'll probably do some, like, when I get the floor done, I'll videotape that. So here's the floor. Then when I build the shed, all right, here's the shed. Then when I spray the foam, here's what the foam looks like after I sprayed it. And then here's how the electric went, and here's how the lights went, and, and until the interior walls, and then basically it's done. So it'll be, just basic snapshots of what I'm doing, but in a video format. So it's going to be cool. I think it'll be fine. I kind of wanted to go a little bigger, but I actually looked at it. So 6 foot by 8 foot's pretty big for what I need. It's not like I'm going to be putting a car in there or anything. So that we really don't know if he's a swinger. Never seen his yard. Does he have flamingos and upside down pineapples? The world may know. Trust me, I do not have any of that stuff. And I think I did post pictures of my house when I first bought it. I think I did a video on it and posted it in one of my shows. I think I did. If I didn't, I probably should have. But I'm just your basic, basic guy living off the land, sort of. Came in late and just goofing. I know. I don't care. It's fun. But, now my house is pretty... I'm not really... my wife, she's more of a decorator than I am. She's got plants all over the fucking place. I that brief time when she was up north and I didn't think she was coming back, I got rid of a lot of crap, It looks so much nicer and cleaner. She comes back and here we go right back to the same shit again. But, if it makes her happy, it doesn't bother me. But, I'm not really into a lot of that stuff. I like sparse, open spaces, simple, less maintenance. So, the only thing, I've got a lot of trees in my yard, which of course pose many problems, mostly with leaves. There are fucking leaves everywhere. I got one of those leaf vacuums, a handheld one. But even with that thing, by the time you get cleaned up, you got to start all over again. It's like constant fall over here, You don't seem to have any seasons for the trees. It's fall 24/7, 365. There's always leaves on the ground and a shitload of them. I run a lot of them over with the mower that mulches them, but the ones that I can't get to, I could fill a fucking pit with them things, man. A big pit, So I said I wish I would have got rid of some of the trees when I had the money to do it, but the wife said, "Oh no, you can't cut down any of the trees, it'll ruin the neighborhood." Fuck you. I can't stay out of the leaves this year. Hey, you know what I'm talking about, Chuck. I got probably 30 or 40 trees in my yard. I'm on 1.7 acres. And it's like constant, year round, it's fall. There's always fucking leaves on the ground. Especially if a windstorm comes through or a hurricane, it clears the trees, but the ground is covered. I mean, they actually make a lawn vacuum I could put on the back of my rider. It's kind of expensive, and it would make it difficult to maneuver some of the areas around where I got to do. And I would probably fill that up every half an hour, So that's a problem in and of itself, and I could burn a lot of it, I guess, but, I'm kind of leery about burning shit on my property, so, Could dump them out by the railroad tracks and let them guys deal with them, right? And I'm thinking about cutting down some of the smaller trees anyway. They're not real big. They're maybe 10 foot tall, maybe this big around. They're just a waste, and they're a nuisance. I just soon cut them down and forget about them. So I may do that at some point, And right now I can't even get in my property with a vehicle because my neighbor, Jim, ever hear or see that spray can that has foam in it? Yeah, that's the stuff I'm getting. It's from Amazon. It's $164 for 12 cans. Comes with a hazmat suit, a breather, goggles, gloves, and a can of cleaner to clean the shit. Pretty slick. All right, Ken, have a good one, man. Enjoy your dinner. And we'll see you next time. Yeah, it's $164 for the 12 cans. Should be enough to do the whole shed. The walls and the ceiling. And it's blue. It's kind of cool looking. You spray it on there. It sprays a pattern about, I think it said 10 inches wide. And it dries and expands in a couple hours. You let it sit overnight. And then you can cut it and shape it if you need to. But I shouldn't have to do that. And, it acts as a sealant for moisture and sound and, heat insulation. So I figure, what the hell? I was looking at it last night because I'm thinking, how am I going to seal this thing up? Because there's going to be openings. That's just normal in any shed. Yeah, but when you get freezing temps, don't you get free chicken lizards falling from the trees? Oh, well, we don't have them up here too much, but in Naples we had the iguanas. The iguanas, in cold weather they freeze. They go into hibernation, and they literally fall out of trees. And I know they call a shitload of them this year. Miami, Naples, Fort Myers. So, Tom says, I got mine from Home Depot. Zombie iguanas. I didn't look at Home Depot, Tom. Like I said, this is professional stuff. I know Home Depot's got that shit in a can, that crack and thing filler. I don't know if they have the good stuff. I never looked. I may look into it though, but here lately I've been buying everything from Amazon, that I can. So I'll look into it, but yeah, that's a necessity because it's got to be watertight. And because we have extreme heat here and extreme cold in the winter, insulation is kind of a necessity. And I'd rather use a foam insulation rather than, because here I got the fiberglass insulation in here. Not blowing in, it's just, on the paper. And I did the walls and ceiling here. It was easier because, this is a wood shed. So I had 2x4 studs every, I think, 14 inches or 16 inches, I don't remember which, but you just staple it in, and I had an electric stapler gun. It was easy, a piece of cake. But working with metal is a little different. You can't really staple shit. I am going to use 1x2 furring strips at least on the belt line. I might use them on the floor and the ceiling as well for to strengthen things, and of course give me something to nail or screw my plywood onto. Because like I said, I don't really, because if you leave it metal, it's going to be loud, you know, especially when it rains, man. It'll fucking probably go deaf in the rain. So with the foam up there and the wood underneath it or on top of it, it's going to make a good insulator for sound deadening, as well as, you know, a sealant. So that's the plan. And like I said, I'm not in a big hurry to get all of it done. I hope to have the whole thing finished by the end of next month. Because I'm looking, I said another bench is $150. Like this wooden one, I want to get one just like it. And I'll get you the name of the brand tomorrow in the daylight. Alright, cool. I mean, if it works good, I'll go for it. You know, don't matter to me. I got a Home Depot right around the corner here, so. But, what the hell was I saying? Shit, I lost my train of thought again. So, you know, anyway, but that's the plan, and hopefully everything will go well. It's for me, I mean, it's not really a big job, but for me it is because of my disability. You know, I'm not completely helpless, but I work best at things that are, you know, up here. Anything on the ground I have a tough time with because I can't really bend down. Getting on my knees is, well, I got knee pads here if I need them. It helps, but it's still going to be rough on me. I mean, you know, like I said, it's just when I put the floor down in here, I did it from a chair. You know, I had my office chair. You know, I had the wife cut the edges for the ones that had to be cut. I started on that side with full pieces. You know, they're just linoleum stick-on. And, you know, I was able to put them in and get them and everything in there. And it worked out pretty good. But, you know, with as far as getting on the floor on my knees and putting them down, that ain't happening. Same thing in the second bedroom in the house. We put a new floor in there. The old floor was shit. And the wife says, you got to put a new floor in here. So I bought the same tiles that are in here. And enough to do that room and, you know, get them straight. Because the idiot that did them before put them in crooked. And it made it look like the walls were off. And she swore up and down, this room ain't right. It's crooked. I said, no, it's not. It's an optical illusion from the tiles because they didn't put them down right. You know, I said, they must have started from the middle. Because supposedly that's the way you're supposed to do it. You're supposed to find an area in the middle of the room and work your way out from it so that each end is equal. But I've never done it. I always do I have the full tile on the end I'm more likely to see. And the other end, they'll have to cut the tiles, you know, to fit in because rooms are never exact, you know. It may be 10 by 11, but realistically it's 10.5 by 11.5, you know. So if you have 1 foot squares, in theory on a 10-foot wall you would need 10 squares. But you always have to have a half a square or something in that area for the last square that you put down. So that, like I said, the dimensions are never quite correct. So when I put the floor down, of course, you know, she goes, well, you were right, the walls are straight. I told you, there's no way the walls are off that much. The builder would have had to been drunk when he built the house, you know. I said, why only this room? The other rooms are fine, you know. But whoever put the tile down in this room was probably higher on something, started in the middle, didn't have a good straight line, you know, because you're supposed to, like, if you start in the middle, you could do that, but you measure off the wall. So if you're, say, 6 foot from the wall to the edge of your middle tile, it would be 6 foot all the way down. Well, they didn't do that. They were off. So you're looking down the wall, and the tiles start out full sheet, and they go down like this by the time you get to the end of the room. And that's, well, the walls are crooked. I said, no, they're not. It's an optical illusion. They didn't put the floor down right. Well, how do you know? Because I'm a fucking expert. That's how I know. You know? I did this shit for a living. I know how it's done. And like I said, when I put it down, it's perfect. You know, well, yeah, I guess you were right. Of course I was right, you know. I won't talk shit if, you know, unless I know what I'm talking about. So, and it's the same in here. All the walls were straight, but, you know, this is supposed to be 12 foot by 32 foot on the outside. On the inside, it's not quite, you know. I think it's only like 31 and 3 inches on the inside. And I think it's 10 foot 8 inches on the inside, something like that. Because you got to figure the 2x4 studs and, you know, it's half-inch siding, you know, T111 on the outside walls. So after you factor all that in, you're not going to be 12 foot on the inside. They don't measure the inside; they measure the outside, which is also bullshit. So, you know. So, like I said, all should go well. It's going to take some time. I'm not in a hurry. I mean, if it takes me a month to do it, that's fine. If it takes me 2 months to do it, that's fine. You know, like I said, this month I hope to have the floor down, the shed built, and hopefully the foam blown in. And then next month I'll be probably looking at electrical and the inside walls. And then after that, it's pretty much done. Dang it, I didn't know the new carpenter's cut 3 times and it's still too short. Then send somebody to get the board stretcher. Yeah, if only, right? What's that? Measure twice, cut once, I think is what they say, but you know, I generally make sure that my cuts are correct. I'm not a professional carpenter, but I'm pretty close. I did a lot of it during my handyman days, you know, as a business. I actually enjoyed it. I didn't think I'd be any good at it. Turns out I actually was. Like I said, I do electrical, plumbing, interior walls, exterior walls. I work with stucco, wood, concrete. You know, the only thing I wouldn't touch was roofs. Me and roofs don't get along for some reason. When I had my house down in Naples, I tried to repair the roof. It was flat. It didn't matter what I did, it always leaked. Even when my dad was alive, he tried to fix it. Because it was never right from when we bought the house, you know. There were 2 flat areas. The front bedroom that used to be a screened-in porch, converted into a room, and the laundry room in the back of the house both had flat roofs. And they always leaked. I mean, from the day he bought the house, they had problems with it. He would go up there and he'd coat the shit with this roof paint or whatever it was, and it would stop the leaks for a while, for a couple years. He had to constantly go back up there and do it over and over and over again. I mean, the shit was this thick, you know. But it got so bad that I couldn't do anything with it. So, you know, I wound up, you know, I got a grant to get a new roof. And the way they did it, they used the new stuff. It's a vinyl they put down, one piece on the flat. And, of course, they tip it a little bit. But there's no way for water to get under it because it's actually ironed down. And it worked out pretty good. So that stuck. When it rained outside, it was worse in the house than it was outside. Over the laundry room, the kitchen, and the front bedroom. I mean, you know. I had a fucking ceiling lamp in the front bedroom. Had to take it down because it would fill up with water. We had a bucket on the floor that, you know, would catch the water when it came down. It would just go right in there. So that's got to go, you know. They did fix it, but Quasimodo said, if Jim knows what's good for him, he'll build the chicken coop first. The wife wants me to build it tomorrow. And I may have to, I don't know, because I'd like to get it out of the way. It's like a one-day job to put them together. They're not a big deal, but just a pain in the ass. She keeps buying shit that I gotta assemble. She bought a dog cage. It's metal mostly. It was nice. I mean, it's heavy duty and had to be assembled. She was going to use that for a chicken coop. Well, problem was, you couldn't put chickens in it because they'd walk right out of it. It was great for dogs. Then she put the cats in it. The cats, they won't even contain the cats. And he said it's good for big dogs, so we still have it. It's in the laundry room. I think she put some of the cats in there. They don't try to escape, but they could. I said, why the fuck did you buy this? And why did I have to build it? So, I have to use fibered asphalt tar on the tin barn roof every 10 years. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's just, I didn't want it, well, I couldn't do it after the stroke. Like I said, I had a friend that would help me out. And I would show him what to do, and he did what I told him, but, I didn't know about that plastic sheeting, or fiber sheeting, whatever it's called, that you can put over it, and you actually iron it to the fucking, the drip rail that goes around the roof. It's slick as shit, but I didn't know about it. If I'd have known about it, the areas were small enough, I could have put one single sheet up there and solved the whole problem. But I was working with other things, like tar, asphalt, tin. I tried everything, shingles. Didn't matter what the hell I did, it still leaked. And the shit, well, the problem was, a fucking roof was dead level, which was the first mistake to begin with. It should have been at some sort of an angle, even if it was only 1 degree. It wasn't. I remember a Three Stooges episode where the ceiling light filled up with water and then broke. Yeah, it does happen. It's okay, Jim. We're all whipped too. Right? That's what I'm saying. It's rough, man. So that's the only thing I don't fuck with is roofs. Anything else I can do. Walls, not a problem. I could pour foundations. I can still do it. Electrical, plumbing, no problem. I got all the brains for it. I know how to, keep the codes and everything else. I just don't like roofs, man. There's something about roofs I just don't like. So, as I said, that's what kept me, because I could have built a wooden room here, 2x4 studs. You build each wall, tip it up, tie it together. It wouldn't have been that big of a deal, but I would have ran into problems with the roof. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not fucking around with a roof. I'd rather get something with a roof on it already. The shed roofs don't leak if you build them right, so it's like, we'll just go with that. John says, I told my brother's kids in 10 years I'll be 68 and not working on the barn roof. They'll have to. There you go. Well, my son, unfortunately, is deceased, but if he were still alive, he'd be helping me out with this shit, That's like 1 year, before he died, we were living in a duplex out in downtown Naples, and or was it Golden Gate, and he wanted to put Christmas decorations up on the roof. I said, well, I ain't going up there for that shit, Well, I'll do it for you, Dad. I said, knock yourself out. And he did. He got up there and strung lights and everything else, and he took them down after Christmas, because I said, well, you have to take them down, too. Can't leave them up there. He took care of it. I mean, he volunteered for it, and that's cool. I would have said, fuck it, not worried about it, But, that's why I used to do shit for my dad, too, I used to work on his roof before he gave me the house. The guy went to heaven and there were 2 lines, henpecked and not henpecked. The guy walked up to the not henpecked line and everybody gasped. Peter told him that he was the first man to ever go on. Where's the rest of it? Go on. You gotta put the rest of it up, man. I can't wait to hear the rest of the joke. So, but yeah, it's just, that line and the guy said, sorry, this is where my wife told me to stand. Oh, okay. Weird. It lost something between the first and second part. I don't know. So I hate they only let you type so many words on there at one time. So, he said, I used to help my dad get up on the roof. And I used to tell him, I said, you're 87 fucking years old. What the fuck are you doing on the roof? If you fall, you will die. Well, I ain't gonna fall. You don't know that. I used to yell at him all the time. I said, get down off of there. I'll take care of it for you. And he would do things that, not thinking, I've seen him do a lot of shit that I would never do. One time we were pressure cleaning this house out in Port Royal, the rich area of town. It was almost 3 stories tall. It had ceramic roof, the ceramic tiles. And we didn't really have the proper equipment. He had a ladder to get up there, but he stood on the fucking gutters. And I'm thinking, Jesus Christ, he's got his power washer in one hand. He's hanging on to the ladder and standing on a gutter. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, man? And it scared me watching him do it. There wasn't no way in hell I was getting up there. Sean Hannity brings up on his shows, he was a roofer in his younger years and fell off one and was messed up really bad. Well, yeah, that could happen. Ray says that he got it. He got the joke. I missed something in the joke, but I'm sure it was pretty funny. Tom said, Jim, I just sent you a photo and a text message. Uh-oh. Yeah, I got my phone with me. Where we are. Tom Grassy message. This is what I use water. Oh, yeah, the great stuff. I don't know. Does that shit actually work? I've used that before for minor jobs, but I don't think you can get a good whiff on that, Yeah, it's great stuff. Yeah, I've used that before, but this comes in a massive can. It's like, I think it says 13-inch tall can. And it does I think it said 20 board foot out of each can. That's a lot. Jim, my grandfather had no driver's license at 90. He took his riding mower to the store 2 miles away from his house. Well, that's one way to do it. And it's legal. Sort of. My dad didn't have a riding mower. He probably would have, I think that was the hardest thing for him is when I took the car away from him. I hated to do it, but he couldn't safely drive anymore. Between the Alzheimer's and, when I took the car, the passenger mirror had been torn off because he hit something with it. Had to buy a new mirror for it. And, he's fucking up the car, man. The car only had 13,000 miles on it. So I said, nah, you can't do this anymore. I said, And they pulled his license anyway, so if he'd have got caught, ultimately they'd have took him to jail and charged him with, driving on a suspended or revoked license. I don't know how that works, but that was the toughest thing for him, is not being able to drive. Why not, Tom? Neither one of my grandmothers had driver's licenses. Well, like I said, you do what you got to do. That's what I'm saying. They should have a way for elderly to get around. Now I could get free rides back and forth to the doctors, but that's it. If I want to go to the store, they won't take me to the store. And of course I can still drive, so it's not a problem. Just remember the board foot is 1 inch by 12 inches. Yeah, something like that. They converted it to square foot. I think they said you could do 270 square foot with 12 cans. That's more than what I would need if it actually goes that far. My grandmother got her license at 65, says Derek. Yeah, well, a lot of them older ladies, they got them later on because they didn't drive when they were married to their husbands, Because realistically, the man drove them everywhere. I met a few old ladies that were like that. Oh, after my husband passed, I had to get a driver's license because he couldn't drive me around anymore. I said, yeah, I understand. Jim took the keys away because father was tearing up his future vehicle. Well, that sounds bad to put it that way, but there was some truth to that. I mean, and they told me, he got caught once, and, they brought him home, and they said, he can't drive anymore. I said, he didn't have any insurance because he forgot to pay it. I think that was the main reason they took his license away. And he would have failed the driving test if he ever took one again. But, in his mind, he was still a young man and could do whatever, but in reality, he couldn't, Because, I had my own car. I didn't really need his. My car was fine. I didn't care, but I thought, hell, this is going to be the newest car I'll ever be able to own, so, what the hell, right? Well, I know you didn't mean it in a bad way, but, but unfortunately, that's what happens. I hope that I have enough sense to hang my keys up when that time, if that time comes, And I'm sure it will if I live long enough. There'll probably be a time when I can't safely drive anymore, and I won't. When I had cataracts in both eyes real bad. I got the first one done, and I had that big heart attack. And it took almost 3 months to get the second eye done. Well, I couldn't really operate I stopped driving that whole time between the first cataract and the second one because I couldn't drive safely, And I had the wife driving me around. It killed me because she scares the shit out of me. But, I knew that I couldn't drive safely. So, all right, you don't want to get yourself killed or wreck the fucking car. So use your brain, So I'm hoping I look at it the same way when and if that time comes. Will it suck? Absolutely. Like I said, I think for anybody, that's your last vestige of, what's the word for it? Can't think of the right word, but you lose your freedom when you lose your car, your sovereignty. So, my mother-in-law, she sold her car to move to New Mexico to be with my ex-tenant. They all became friends, and I told her, I said, you're making a mistake. Well, she didn't listen. She wound up moving back out after a couple of months. And, now she doesn't have a car, and she couldn't afford to buy one, so that's her life now. Now she's in an assisted living home, but she says, I should have never gave up my car. I said, well, I tried to tell you, Uber's cheaper than car wrecks, asked Tiger. Tiger Woods. He's an idiot. Tom says they will have to take my keys out of my bloody dead hands. There you go. Well, I'm hoping I can still drive till, if I don't lose my mind, I'll be fine. That's the only reason my dad quit driving, because he didn't have the mind anymore, Alzheimer's got him. I said one day he went to go to the grocery store, literally a mile away, wound up in Miami, which was 120 miles away, realized he wasn't in the right place. He turns around, comes back over, shot his house again, wound up going north another 150 miles. And it took him all day and nearly a tank of gas to get home. He was only supposed to go to the store a mile down the road. And you think that would have been enough to say, okay, it's time to quit, But he didn't, because he's stubborn, like most people are. But I think you have to really look at it realistically. There's going to come a time if you live long enough, How many 100-year-olds you see driving cars? Probably not too damn many, and I don't think I'd want to be in front of them if they are. Chuck says, I'm going to hate the day I have to quit. Well, we all will. As I said, it's your sense of freedom and autonomy, and whatever the right word is for it. It makes you who you are. That's what being an American's about. Hopping in the car and driving wherever the fuck you want, you know. Even though they're trying to stop us, they want to do away with private vehicle ownership, according to New World Order people. You know, you will have nothing and like it. Fuck you, Klaus. Yeah, I will have everything and like it. Fuck you. But yeah, but that's what they want to do. They want to take away everything. You know, 15-minute cities. You won't need a car. You won't be able to drive one because they're 15-minute cities. You can ride a bike or take the whatever fast transit they got there to go from one end of town to another. That's bullshit though, because it makes you a prisoner. Yeah, Chuck, but the people you keep having accidents with will be happy. Well, yeah, I know a lot of people that are old and they drive fine, you know. I mean, I still drive fast, 66 years old. I guess in my mind I'm still 20-something, but I still drive safely. You know, I was out today and I'm watching traffic. I mean, these guys are going, cutting me off and cutting the guy in front of me off and doing. And what the fuck is your problem? You could drive fast, you could even drive a little crazy, but use your fucking brain. These guys, they don't care. They hit you, they don't worry about it. They'll probably run anyway. Of course, they hit me, I'm going to chase them down. I'll put them on their fucking roof, because once the car gets hit, it's all over, you know. I don't give a shit then. Yeah, that's some idiot in a fucking Toyota pickup truck come flying by me, you know. Jumps right in front of my car. At least he didn't brake check me, but it's like, dude, you're not getting anywhere because there's a shitload of traffic in front of me, you know. And it's like, you know, what the fuck, right? So he jumps over in the middle lane. Of course, I advance over up here. I'm not going to let you jump in front of me again because I could be an ass too. They probably don't have insurance. Oh, if they don't, they'll be dead because I'll kill them, you know. But, and I look over and say, dude, what the fuck, you know? He fucking flips me off and fucking blows the horn. I'm going, yeah, whatever, dude. Ask me if I fucking care, you know? Dumbass. Quasi says a senior citizen was driving down the freeway when his wife called his cell phone. Honey, I just heard on the news that there's a car going the wrong way on Route 280. Please be careful. Yeah, it was him. I heard that joke before. It's not just one car, she said. It's hundreds of them. Yeah. I actually did that once. Many years ago. I was up in Indiana. And I don't know how. I came off a highway. I don't know if it was a sign that fucked me up or whatever, but I'm going down this hill, and all I see is headlights coming at me. Like 8 lanes of traffic, and I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm on a one-way road. I pulled a quick 180 and got the fuck out of Dodge, you know. Well, he's smart enough to figure out, you know, there's something wrong. I don't know how I got on there. And he said, I obviously I went off an on-ramp or on an off-ramp, or I don't know what the fuck happened. But, you know, fortunately I was smart enough to figure it out. And, you know, when hundreds of cars are coming at you, you're the guy that's making the mistake. Insurance is expensive enough with a clean record for us. How I record too. I couldn't afford the premiums. That's true too. There are always those that want to be first to the accident. More than you realize, you know. And it's raining out a little bit. The roads are a little slick. And these guys, I think they're on the fucking, you know, the NASCAR 500. Look, dude, you can't drive like that in the rain. Even I'm smart enough to know that, and I'm crazy, you know. It aggravates the shit out of you, really, you know. It's like, you know, going down the road, when I left, I was actually going to Comcast, you know, to drop off the equipment. It's on 27, which is the main highway through Sebring. 6 lanes of traffic. I'm in the slow lane. I'm doing about 65, which is a little over the speed limit, but I think it was 60 at that point. Everybody does 5 over. So this guy in a fucking, another pickup truck, decides to pull out in front of me. Off a sidewalk. There's nothing behind me. Literally, there's like 2 or 3 miles, no traffic. Fucker couldn't wait an extra 15 seconds to get on the highway behind me. Oh no, he'd get in front of me, right? So I'm doing 60, 65. And I come up on him pretty quick, so I give him the, flash the lights on him. I had to swing over the other lane, otherwise I'd have hit him. And he looks at me like, duh, what's the problem? Duh, why couldn't you wait 15 seconds to pull out in traffic? And why did you jump in my lane? You could have went to the other 2 lanes where there was no traffic. Fucking idiots, Virginians drive slower in the rain than on ice. I know, that makes no sense either. And it does. It drives me nuts. I mean, if I'm on a side road and I want to get in the main traffic, I'll wait. Or if I do get in front of somebody, man, I tell you what, I'm up to speed that quick, And my car's not a race car, but it's pretty quick for what it is. So there's a guy who's maybe a half mile coming up, but he's coming up pretty quick, so I know he's moving. But I figured that's my only shot to get on the road, so I'd get on there. I jump on the gas. I'm up to 65 right fucking now, and it's taking him a while to catch up to me. And by that time, I'll probably change lanes anyway, just so I'm not in front of him. How hard is that to do? If you're going to jump on somebody, get on the fucking gas and get out of their fucking way. Don't fucking idle and wonder why the guy's climbing up your fucking ass and then blows the horn at you. Like, well, what did I do? I hate when someone pulls out in front of me and then turns left. Well, that happens too. That happens here all the time. Or right, doesn't matter. I hate when it's just, well, they call 27 bloody 27 because if there are wrecks, there's usually a fatality. We all fly. The cops fly, I mean, even downtown it's like 55 miles an hour. And we're all doing 70 or 80, Nobody gives a shit. But if you hit somebody, there's a good probability you'll either kill them or kill yourself, I was on a side road with the light. Light turned green. I was getting ready to go, and I slammed on the brakes. And I said, what the hell are you doing? And the fucking guy blew the red light. He would have fucking creamed. He would have killed us. Or killed himself. I said, that's why I stopped. Well, how did you know? I said, I just know, man. I'm very aware of my surroundings. If I look like you're going too fast, I know you're not going to stop, This guy had to be doing 80 miles an hour. He would have plowed the side of my car. My wife would have been killed for sure. I probably would have got killed too. He would have probably went through the windshield, along with his 6 passengers. Turns out they're a bunch of goddamn Mexicans. So I finally go, and of course he stops at the next light, because he didn't have a choice, and I pulled up next to him. I said, dude, are you trying to die today? What do you mean, man? You blew that light back there, and if I had to stop when I did, you would have plowed into me. We'd all be dead. Fuck you, man. Oh, fuck me. Fuck you. Next time you do that shit, I'll put a fucking bullet in your fucking head. If I live through it. He took off. That was the end of that, I mean, what the fuck? Marylanders like to make left turns from the right lane. That happens everywhere, John. They do that shit down here, too. They'll cross 3 lanes to get to the left lane. It's like, they don't care who they cut off to do it, And it's like, that's a good way to get yourself killed. And I told my wife that. I said, I got no issue with putting somebody on their roof. I got a big enough car, I could usually get away with it. And not suffer extreme damage to my car, I get fucked up a little bit, but, I'll put them right on their fucking roof, especially if it's a truck. You get up under that fucker and put, it's going to flip them over. I don't give a shit, If I have to replace a fender and a hood, I don't care. They're going to pay for it anyway. I mean, it just pisses me off when people drive like that. I mean, come on. I'm crazy on the road, but I'm not a danger to myself or anybody else. I've got a measured crazy going on, If that makes any sense. And that's the way it should be. Will I still be driving like that when I'm 80? Well, if I can, I will. If I can, maybe it's time to turn in my keys, Because I know what you're talking about, Tom, as far as New Jersey. You got to have a car up there anyway because nothing's close and people are fucking lunatics, man. I said when I was moving Salome down, a friend of a friend, when we got up there, we took the train up there, took Amtrak and got there and I said, Salome, can I borrow your car? I want to go get some snacks because we're fucking hungry, me and my son. Yeah, go ahead and take my car. She had a Lexus. That fucking thing is quick, right? So I get on the main road. I think it was the Jersey Turnpike, maybe? It might have been. I think it was. And another thing, New Jersey has two quirks. First off, you can't pump your own gas, which is stupid. And they don't have any left turns. You have to turn right, and then there's either an overpass or underpass to get to the other side of the road. And they're not, there might be miles that you go. There's a Circle K on the left side of the road. I can't get to it. I got to drive another 2 fucking miles, wait for a right-hand turn-off to cross over, and come back to get to the store. Fucking, I come from Jersey. Anyways, they were that stupid that they are. I'm cautious when driving my wife's car, but when I'm driving my 6-speed, I just power through. There you go. Yeah, my wife won't even let me drive her car. She's afraid I'll destroy it. She has a Mustang, but it's a 6-cylinder, so it can't be that quick, Tom says, I'm seriously looking into buying a tank to replace my car. I hear you, man. They're crazy up there. And you have to drive fast, because if you don't, I swear they'll plow you. And the next day I borrowed her car again. And man, people are doing like 90s in the fucking 55. And it's like, shit, I better hammer down here and fucking keep up with traffic, And that's the way I am. If everybody else is doing 100, I'll do 100 too. I don't give a shit, Because like you said, if you don't, you're risking your own life and the lives of others. That's the problem. Down here especially, because if somebody sees you going fast, they'll jump in front of you and brake check you. Like, who made you cop? Stay out of my fucking way, That is what it is. Craziness, though, it really is. Downshift and floor. I did that once in my Fiero. Blew the fucking motor up. I was in a hurry to get back to work. I was running late. I didn't want to get, in trouble for being late to work. So I'm going down the highway 41. It's 2 lanes. 4 lanes, but 2 on each side. I'm probably doing about 80, right? And the left lane, which I was in, was clear all the way down. So I figured I'm just going to hammer down and fucking go, Well, the fucking car on the right-hand side behind another car decided to jump over into the lane. And then it actually tried to brake check me. Well, I had enough from that Fiero was small enough. I was able to get between the 2 cars, barely. In order to do it, I had to drop down 2 gears. Went from 5th to 3rd. And fucking floored it. And it blew the motor up. I mean, it still ran, but it was fucked up. I had to replace the engine after that. I was so pissed off because it was unnecessary. And if that asshole hadn't have jumped out in front of me just because, I wouldn't have blew the motor up, Fucking assholes. I'm telling you, people like that just piss me off. And you really do want to plow them, I had a friend of mine, that was some years before that. He was in front of me a few miles. I was trying to catch up to him. And you're doing about 80 and a 55, And I was close enough to see what happened. But he was going down the fast lane. I see he's probably doing about 70, 80 mile an hour. And because I was going almost that fast too, trying to catch up to him. And these fucking assholes in a Cadillac, 4 old people, 2 men, 2 women, probably 2 husbands, 2 wives. They saw him coming. They slid over in the pass lane and brake checked him. He couldn't stop. He fucking hit him. His car went underneath the Cadillac. Flipped the Cadillac over. It rolled like 3 fucking times off into the weeds. Of course, he stopped, and of course, I stopped too. It's like, dude, I seen the whole thing. The guy jumped in front of you for no good reason. Didn't use a turn signal or nothing. So the fucking, the paramedics came down and they go like, what happened? So they asked my friends, well, were you speeding? It's, well, I might have been going a little over. Why? Well, you're at fault. I said, oh, no. I said, them fuckers pulled out in front of him and brake checked him. I saw the back end of their car go up. That's how hard they braked. He couldn't stop. Why did they do it? They caused this accident. They're at fault. Well, who the fuck are you? I'm the witness. I was about a half mile back at that point. I said, I seen the whole thing. Oh, they were all pissed off because they were going to try and nail my friend, because he was speeding. I said, don't matter how fast he was going. Them dumbasses should have never changed lanes. They were playing cop, and they lost. They didn't get hurt too bad. Fortunately, they had bumps and bruises. Totaled the caddy, And they actually did get faulted with the accident because I made a big shit about it. And they says, we'll be out here to scrape your remains off the road one day. No, you won't. Because I'm not that fucking stupid. I says, people that do that shit, they should be banned from driving, So, Thomas Grassley Jr., like Marvin Heemeyer and Killdozer. There you go. Killdozer. I love the Killdozer. Ray says, I remember driving Connecticut and I always called the drivers connect the dots. They can't maintain a road lane. And that's probably true. John says, everybody does 80 to 55 on the Beltway. I've been on the Beltway too, and that's true. I mean, I one time, the first time I went through Ohio, I was on I-75 going through downtown Cincinnati. It was raining like a bitch. I mean, it was bad. The visibility, you couldn't see much past the hood. And we're all doing 70, 80 miles an hour. And I'm thinking, boy, somebody fucks up, this is going to be a bad pileup, And I'm trying to slow down, but I can't because, like I said, there's traffic all around me. They're running, 70, 80 mile an hour. So I was forced to drive like they did, and thank God nobody fucked up. But, I was thinking, shit, we don't drive like that in Florida. I wish we did, And I said, the worst part is, Ohio people come to Florida, I think, to slow down. Because anybody from Ohio drives like an idiot in Florida. They're like 10 under the speed limit, maybe more. They don't believe in turn signals, nothing. Up in Ohio, they drive completely differently. And I says, they probably come down here to get a break from the, the high speed, high pressure driving up there. Like I said, I don't care. I'll do whatever. One time we went through Atlanta, Georgia. I-75, what did I say? Yeah, I-75, downtown Atlanta. We didn't take the, because they have a workaround, an alternate route. I went through downtown about 2 o'clock in the morning. I was in a pack of about 20, 30 cars. We're doing 130 plus. It was like NASCAR, man. We're literally inches off each other's bumpers. That was the greatest thrill ever. I was in my Fiero with that one, man. It's, holy shit, this is the way to drive. Got through Atlanta like in a couple minutes, Thank God there weren't no cops around, but because they'll pull you all over. They don't care. But I've had pretty good luck driving ever. I did get popped in Georgia. Where the hell was that? Macon. In my Cadillac, I had a 70. What year was that? 71? 71 Cadillac Fleetwood. Had a 500 in it. Fucking thing would flat out fly, man. Well, I was bringing my friend up, Wayne, who had a heart transplant. He was moving up to Illinois, and he said, can you take me up there? Sure, So we disassembled his motorcycle and put it in the trunk, along with his luggage and shit, right? So the car didn't have air shocks on it, so it was kind of, rotted low in the back. And here I am going down. The speed limits were 55, pretty much every state, nationwide at that time. I'm doing about 90, right? Just fucking cruising, man. That car was like a boat, man, just smooth as shit. I see a state trooper all the way down the fucking road on the opposite side. So I don't slam on the brakes because that's obvious. So I back off the throttle and I'm hoping I'm coasting down. Well, I got it down to 76 when he clocked me. 76 and a 55. I get pulled over and first thing, the guy's big. He's like 6'5", I mean, he's looking down at me, because I'm a 5'7", Says, he says, y'all in a big hurry. What's going on? I said, well, sir, I'm taking my friend Wayne here up to Illinois because he's got a heart transplant and they won't take care of him down in Florida. He said they'll take better care of him in Illinois. He says, well, why is your car running so low? So I got his motorcycle in there, sir. We disassembled it and put it in the trunk. He didn't believe me, so he says, mind if I look in there? No, sir, go right ahead. I open up the trunk, he goes, well, I'll be a son of a bitch. You got a motorcycle in there. That's the funniest thing ever. I guess he thought we were all on drugs or something, So he gave me the ticket, and of course, I was under the understanding it was my first time going through Georgia, right? So I thought you had to pay on the spot. I had cash on me, so he said, well, how much do I owe you? I'm counting out $20 bills, and he goes, sir, are you trying to bribe me? I said, no, sir, don't I have to pay right now? He says, we don't do that anymore. Because they used to, you had to pay on the spot, or they'd take you to jail until you could pay the fine. So we don't do that anymore. Oh, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know, So he says, you got a month to pay it. Here's the ticket, instructions, you could pay it by mail. I said, all right, great, I almost got arrested on that one. He thought I was trying to bribe him. So it was the funniest shit, though. So the last thing he said to me, he said, well, you're free to go. Enjoy the state of Georgia. Y'all slow down now here. Yes, sir. I did 55 the rest of the way through Georgia. As soon as I hit fucking Tennessee, man, back up to 90 mile an hour, right? That ticket only cost me $76. It wasn't bad. But it was a hell of a thing, though. I remember driving in Connecticut, and I always called the drivers. Oh, okay, I read that one already. Everyone, did that too. Well, the ones that scare me are the ones who park on the freeway when it rains hard instead of pulling off the road first. People actually do that? That's stupid. I've never had that happen. I mean, in Florida, especially on 75, I've been through some bad rains where you literally couldn't see past the windshield. And if the car in front of you didn't have his lights on, you couldn't see him, and yet we were down like 15 miles an hour going down the interstate. It was so bad, I saw a few people that were off to the side, and I would never pull over because I'm afraid somebody'd slam into you, At least you're moving, even if it's slow, until you can get past the bad rain and get back up to speed. But I'll tell you, we're like white knuckling it, man, the whole time, Johnson's running bales of pot, Jim? Nah, that was a motorcycle. It wasn't a big one. It was a 175 Yamaha Enduro, and we took the wheels off of it and tossed that fucker in the trunk and emptied the gas and oil first. But he wasn't leaving his motorcycle behind, so I said, all right, we can take it. That Cadillac, you could fit a family of 6 in there in the trunk. That thing was huge, but it didn't have air shocks. Like I said, it was running low in the back. It wasn't quite dragging the ground, but it was a lot of weight in that thing. But I got him up there and got him set up, and he died, I think, 3 or 4 years later. He fucked up. He did acid. He was dropping acid when his heart gave out on him. And because we didn't see him for like 3 days, he calls me up. He says, man, you got to come get me and take me to the hospital. I said, why? What's going on? He says, man, I don't know. There's something seriously wrong with me. So I took him to the hospital. And they said, well, you got a congenital heart problem. It wouldn't have bothered you until you were old, but you brought it on taking drugs, because they knew he was, dropping acid, I guess. And so he was one of the first recipients of the heart transplant. He got it he was 27, I think, he was 24 when he got his heart transplant. 17-year-old kid died on a motorcycle, got in a wreck. He got the kid's heart. But he says, never again. He says, if I'd have known I was going to go through this, would have never agreed to it. So why are they parking on the freeway and they must be parking in the driveways too? Ray says, yep, some of the Northeast state drivers are great for just stopping on the road when it rains hard. That's fucking stupid. That's a good way to get your ass fucking killed. I've never seen them do that here. Like I said, they'll pull off. I mean, if I were going to pull off, I'd be like way the fuck off in the weeds, I would just get off the road because, somebody may think you're in a lane, not realize you're not until they hit you. So, we were always told that, I don't care how bad things get, don't stop your car on the freeway. It made sense to me. My dad always said, if you can't drive it, park it, and there you go. But not on the fucking road, right? Like I said, I consider myself a good driver. I mean, I've got a lot of driving skills, or had. I haven't done a lot of that stuff in a long time, but if you could do it in a car, chances are, I think the only thing I never did was ride up on two wheels. But I've done 180s, 360s, power slides, controlled fucking skids and all. I've done all that shit, And I learned, in the old cars, all rear wheel drive, front engine. I did have, I had a Buick I had, that was front wheel drive. I hated that thing. And because it wasn't the same, It's unnatural to have your front wheels pulling you. Everybody considers themselves a good driver. That's true, Derek, but some really are, And I've been through some shit that, I don't know how I got through it, but I did. Races, I saw a lot of weird shit while driving truck over the road for 30. Yeah, I bet you did. Like I said, my reactions aren't as good as they used to be because of my age, But I still use better sense, I don't take unnecessary. There was a time I did, It was a time when I had to get somewhere. I drove on sidewalks. It didn't matter. I had to get where I'm going. I got there one way or the other. And really never got caught, My first wife and I, we used to take turns having races. We would trade cars sometimes. She had a Pontiac Le Mans, a 77, and I had a 73 Le Mans. No, actually at the time she had the 73 Grand Prix. Because I was using it. They were 4-laning Airport Road. It was 2-lane. And we were racing to see who can get to East Naples the first, right? So, I don't like to lose. She was ahead of me. I said, well, fuck this. I got up on the new road that wasn't finished yet. And I'm doing over 100 mile an hour. I'm just flying down there. I got in front of her. And in front of some traffic. And then all of a sudden I see a bunch of heavy equipment in front of me. Well, I couldn't stop. So I literally came off the road, which was about 2 foot higher than the real road. And I hit so hard on the left side that I bent the driver's front axle. Well, I won the race. She was kind of pissed off at me because, I wrecked her car. She says, well, now what? I said, I'll get you another car. No big deal. So I sold it, And I didn't get much for it because, he said the axle was bent a little bit. And I bought her the 77 Le Mans and, restored it for her, repainted it, put all power seats and everything else in it, got it painted. And she loved that car, But we didn't swap cars after that. I mean, after I kind of ruined her which I bought for her anyway, And after I ruined the Grand Prix, she's like, we're not doing that anymore. She says, you're too fucking crazy. I said, well, I know. I don't like to lose the race. Remember those Joey Chitwood stunt drivers? Oh, yeah, I remember those. Probably where I got to have my shit from anyway. He used to perform at our country fair quad. There you go. But like I said, I've jumped cars, When I had my Chevelle, there was a wooden bridge in Port Royal. It was a rich area of town. And it was a short bridge, but it was kind of steep. And if you went over it normally, you wouldn't damage anything, but there was just enough room to get about 30 miles an hour and jump over the fucking thing. You wouldn't get a lot of air, but you get some. And I used to do that all the time. I even launched my caddy once. I was up in Indiana. And that's another story I won't get into, but I was trying to get to my sister's house. It was an emergency. And I hit the railroad tracks. It was a hump. And I was probably doing about 90 miles an hour when I hit it. I launched that fucking car, man. Big old Fleetwood. I probably got about 3 foot of fucking air and landed hard, but I landed on the back wheels and didn't do any damage to the car, but, I mean, I could have fucked the car up doing that, but I wasn't thinking. I needed to get where I was going. So I did a lot of crazy shit, man, over the years, but I don't do that anymore. I kind of miss doing it, though, I had a lot of fun. Yeah. And one time I had to get to a doctor's appointment. I had my, what was I driving? I was driving, I had my Chevelle for that too. I had to go to Fort Myers. It was an accident, you know, and we were sitting in traffic like forever. And there was a fucking dirt road, dirt path, about 60 foot off the highway. I'll take it. I got down there, fucking hammered down. All you saw behind me was the dust cloud. A few people jumped in to follow me. And the cops couldn't do anything because, you know, it wasn't on the highway, man. I could do whatever fuck I want. It was considered off-road. And I never got in any trouble for it, but I got to my doctor's appointment on time. Let's see. A slightly bent axle sounds like a Charlie Chaplin movie. Fucked that axle up pretty good, man. I mean, the tire kind of like leaned a lot. It bent the axle. You know, it wouldn't keep a tire on it for more than a few weeks. It would just chew the tires up. And I could have replaced the axle probably, but, you know, hey, so let me get you a nicer car. So we were heading somewhere. I was up in Arcadia, which is not far from where I live here. And we went by a junkyard, and there was this gray 77 Le Mans sitting in the front. I said, yeah, that car looks nice. You know, so I pulled over. I went inside. I says, what are you doing with that Le Mans? I said, well, we're getting ready to scrap it. I said, do you have a title for it? He says, yeah, and this was before they... Now, at that time, you could buy junkyard cars as long as they were clean titles with them. He says, yeah, why? I said, take $500 for it? Yeah, okay, I'll take it. So we changed the title right then and there. He signed it over to me, and I drove the car home. Had no brakes and was running on, had a 350 in it, but one of the cylinders was dead. So I'm running on 7 cylinders with no brakes. I mean, none. And I had to drive it like 100 miles back to the house. You know, but I got it there, and the next day I looked at it, so I'm going to put another engine in it and fix the brakes. I built a 350 for it, nothing serious, but it was a little quicker, you know. Put a new master cylinder in there, and I think I replaced one of the wheel cylinders on the back wheels. And I didn't like the paint job was beautiful on it, except it was ugly. It was like a grayish green, you know. I said, nah, that's got to go. So I called up the paint shop. I said, you know, what he charged me to change the car? He said, it was on the $300. It wasn't bad. So it's all right. I'll bring it in a couple of days. That'll be prepped for you somewhat. I'm going to take all the chrome off, headlights, taillights, you know, everything, mirrors, anything I can get that's not getting painted, I'll take off for you. He said, all right. So I brought it and I had the wife follow me down because I had no brake lights or nothing in it, you know. Wasn't that far from my house. Dropped it off, they painted it, brought it back home, put it all back together. Car was nice, man. Like I said, I put power seats in it for her, power windows. You know, it was a 2-door, and it was a pretty car, man. She had that car for a long time. But she wouldn't let me drive it anymore, at least not racing anyway. I mean, I did drive it, but I couldn't race with it because she said, you're not breaking in love with my cars. All right. So, yeah, well, we had fun, though, you know. Like you said, back in the day, man, when money was plentiful and I had my youth and I was able to do shit without question. I miss those days, really. Now here I am, an old man that's broken down, and, you know, it is what it is, I guess. So, and it's almost 9:30. I think we're going to wrap up at 9:30. Just for shits and giggles. We had an interesting conversation tonight. I mean, I think I might have chased a few years off the air, but not intentionally. Like I said, I have high opinions of things. I may or may not be right, I don't know, but I like to think I am. And, you know, indulge me. Even if you think I'm a loon, that's fine, I don't care. You know. Just don't get upset over it enough to where you, well, fuck him, he's an asshole, you know. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, right or wrong, right? Each Schwab $99 we paint Or Earl Shives, rather. Earl Shives, $99. We paint everything the same color, no extra charge for painting windows, tires, bumpers. I know. There was one car I brought, and it wasn't that one. I think it was my Cadillac. I did mask off everything except for the windshield. I took everything off that could be taken off. Because I went to Electrobake on that one. I think I paid like $200 or $300 for that paint job. It's on a fucking Fleetwood, big car. But I masked the windows and everything, and I had old tires on there. Because they have a nasty habit of painting the tires and wheels. So I didn't put the new tires on yet, but they did a fairly good job though, man. The paint held up for a long time. So, Now they want more fucking money to paint a car than the damn car is worth. Like I said, my car is an '04. 5 years ago, I think it was still worth $5,000 or $6,000. It ain't worth nothing now. But they wanted $7,000 to paint it right around the corner. I go, how do you justify? Well, we take everything off and paint everything, piece by piece. I said, you don't need to do that. Just mask off the glass. I'll remove the chrome and the lights and all the other shit. And you just shoot it, And I said, I'll even put my old tires and wheels back on. I don't care if you paint them, Because I had my new nice wheels on there and new tires. I would have took them off and put the old ones back on. I said, you can't do better than that. We could probably knock $500 off. I says, the fucking car is only worth $5,000. You want $6,500 at a minimum to paint it. I said, you don't need to take everything off. I'd rather you didn't anyway. You're probably going to fuck something up, man, Just paint the whole damn thing, man, together. And what the fuck, You don't even have to paint the jambs. I could do that myself, Plus, I wanted to change the color anyway, but... Oh, no, we got to do it our way. I said, yeah, you're full of shit. I can't afford that. I had the money. I probably should have done it anyway. But that's a lot of money to throw down for a paint job, Hell, I could have got another car for less than that. So... I don't know. Like I said, I think greed has taken over everything in this country. And they're getting money that they shouldn't be getting, How do you justify that? I mean, it wasn't that long ago when you can get a premium professional paint job, a custom job, for around $1,200 for any car. Apparently you can't do that anymore. That's bullshit. But it is what it is, I guess. So anyway, hopefully I'll get something done this week, train-wise. Well, hopefully that floor I'll have maybe done, I hope. I got to get these trains running because I know you're all itching to see them run. And I've only got literally 4 wires to hook up and they're running. Well, I got 2 small pieces of track I got to put in, but that'll take about an hour. So hopefully I'll get that done. And we can see trains running next week. Hopefully. But don't hold your fucking breath. Because with me, you never know, Because I'll probably be busy putting that stupid chicken coop together. I keep telling the wife, don't buy any more fucking things I got to put together. So what does she do? Buys more shit for me to put together. What's must charging to paint one of those trucks? Oh, you mean the Cybertruck? They even painted? I thought that was bare aluminum. I don't know. It'd be nothing to paint that anyway because it's all flat lines. It's all bullshit. And they're not even using the water-based paints here yet either. I know out west, California, they're mandated. They have to use water-based car paints. I don't know how well they work. I know they're very expensive. But they're still using the old-fashioned, I don't know if they use Imron anymore, but base coat, clear coat, But, I mean, there's no way it's going to cost several $1,000s in materials. It's all labor. I don't care what they say, I priced the paint. I think the paint was like $200 a gallon. That ain't shit, I've seen the Triber truck in different colors around here. I've only seen a few of them. They were all silver. I don't know whether they're painted or not, but I'm sure people are painting them because who wouldn't want a silver truck? But I don't know what it costs. But if you can afford a $110,000 vehicle, a $7,000 paint job ain't shit. I guess because then their Cybertruck's going for like 107,000 or 110,000, somewhere around there, which is also ridiculous. And right now I read today that the government has, what they say, 100,000 or 1.3 million electric cars that they don't use anymore, and they're up for sale really cheap. They're selling for gas car prices. I don't know why you'd want one. They suck, looks good for a year or so, then they fade and flake. Well, yeah, I'm sure they do. They're too ugly. I wouldn't want one, I don't want nothing electric anyway. You give me a gas motor. Fuck that electric shit, My tenant, Tina, her daughter, Summer, has an EV, a Toyota EV. And she got it used. I think her last boyfriend bought it for her. She can only go not quite a day on a single charge. She goes to work. She has to charge it at work just to get back home. And I think she works like 40 minutes away from her house. Why in the fuck would you even screw with something? It probably needs a new battery pack, which, $25,000. I don't think so. Cybertruck, broken, cut fingers included at no extra charge. I'm sure that happens too. I don't know. I just wouldn't want one, man. I mean, when I first saw them, I thought it was kind of cool, but then it's like, would you drive something like that? No. I mean, I've designed some cars. I didn't build them, but on paper they look pretty cool. I had a pickup truck car that I built that was cab over, where you actually sat in front of the front wheels, the steering wheels, and it had a lift up front end, windshield and part roof assembly to get in and out of. I thought that was cool. And it was kind of square, but not really. I mean, I'll have to dig that shit out because I still have the original drawings. And I got some pretty cool drawings of cars that I would love to have built that I couldn't. And I don't know why Musk can't do a better job on his electric cars. Doesn't make sense to me. Alright guys, well it's 9:30, so I'm going to run the outro. And the outros will automatically put your comments up there because I set it up for that. And of course I want to thank everybody for hanging out with me tonight. Even with all the strange shit we talk about. And have a good weekend. Play with your trains when you can. And be safe. And I'll see you next Thursday. And don't forget, Wednesday night, James's show Wednesday night is Tom Grassie's show. He's on at 8 o'clock. Don't miss him. And Monday night is Tom Kovichak. He's on at 7. James is also on at 7, I believe. James Galton. You'll have to pick which one you want. And he's also on Wednesday and Friday, but, Tom is, but you guys will have to figure out your own schedule. Anyway, thanks a lot. We'll see you next week. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, which, leaves you wide open. We'll see you.